Welcome in, Primers. It is time for another week of Smite Prime. You're in week 3 of the open bracket for June. So that means in 1 week, we'll be deciding who's going to be in the closed bracket. Today, it's me, Blaze, and with me, we'll have Trelly today. Trelly, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic, Blaze. And you know what? Last time I was here, I thought it was Friday. I'm so glad that I know it is Saturday, and it's Smite Prime Saturday. What more could you want?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to start off a Saturday morning, I feel like. Get a nice, few great Smite games in and then go from there. And this week, teams are playing for keeps, is like I like to say. You're playing for top 8. You're trying to get into those top 8 spots for closed bracket next week. Obviously, that gets you into the prizing category of options. So it's an exciting time for these teams. And to see the bracket here, we have some titans among them, but we have some teams that, might be able to shake it up as well, Trelly. Is there some that you're looking at here that you're more excited to see than others?
I mean, I go off of name recognition alone, and by that I mean just how cool their names look like. MB Backstep or what? There's so many names for the Backstep over the years, but I've always been privy to the Bear Backstep. I never gave the last step any credit. We'll have to see if MB Backstep is able to get any sort of cred here. And Evolutions also jumps out at me, just as good, solid names. And you know what? Fierce Shabalba as well. It's rare that this many jump out at me as just good names, but I'll give you 3 that I'm really liking. Just again by name alone. I don't care about the players, that comes later. Just off of first glance.
No, I'm with you. I always love seeing Evolutions. I always love we had Evolutions. I think we had another Pokemon named team a while back, and I was like, this is good stuff. These are fun names. And like, I always like the bakery because they let us go and like think about different baked items that we can throw in every once in a while. They're baking away instead of cooking away. But let's take a look at what the pricing that these teams are playing for in the month of June. And they are going to be playing for $7,000 in cash pricing and up to $125,000 in diamond pricing split amongst the teams. And that's a pretty nice payout for the whole month of June. And again, they're playing for top 8 today. That way they can make that closed bracket next week for the opportunity for it all in this June circuit. And we have some fun games leading up the way here. I believe our first game today is going to be Evolutions versus the Gig Moss. So we're going to see one of those named teams that you mentioned, Trelly.
I mean, that's exciting stuff. And it's good to see not only the fact that that's a good chunk of change that they're playing for, but the competitive itch for Smite 2 is still alive and well. A lot of teams coming out, want to show their stuff, show how much they've been able to adapt to these constantly changing patches. The meta forms for like a solid week, a week and a half, and then it's just on its head the next week. So if you're not in the queues constantly grinding, practicing with your squad, you're going to fall behind. And these guys, they've been playing. They know their stuff.
Yeah, we're going to throw it right over to picks and bans, and we'll get to see, do some of the things switch up? It's like you said, it's almost like every week something's new. There's a few consistent keys here. Like, I constantly see Bari banned. She's not a god that you really want to play against too often. I expect that we're going to see her banned here. But Trelly, are there some other ones you think might sneak in as a ban, or are there things that maybe people are sleeping on a little bit that they need to be watching out for?
I mean, early on in the tournament, I like to think that it's usually just meta bans, but as we get to later rounds, a meta does start to form where it's like, oh, this team's got a really solid Apollo, Hunbats, those sort of picks definitely jump out to me. Aladdin, no surprise there that's going to be taken away. So those are the picks that I'm looking at, but of course you kind of have to get a feel for what's going on before you start saying like, oh, we really need to shut down this Loki, for example. Those sort of target bans, I think, come later. But right now, my eyes are, of course, on things like Sobek, Hunbat, Apollo. Very annoying, CC-oriented, get your beads down, team fight, that sort of thing.
Yeah, we see it. The first few bans come away here. Remember, this is now moving from 2 bans to 6 bans. So there's a little bit more opportunity to get things off the board, where we see Aladdin Sobek gone, Ares Kali, and then there's that Humbats you were talking about. A lot of these aren't too surprising to see, in my opinion. Kali can just run it down, especially with Aspect. She has options. I always like to think about in these early games, banning away things that are huge flex picks. You mentioned the Apollo earlier, and we were talking about it before broadcast. It can go 5 rolls. It's a scary pick because you don't know where it's going to fall. The last ban here is going to be the Bari. Do you think they missed on any of these bans, or you feel good about all these ones, Trelly?
I mean, I do think that at this point, Bari is still going to be very scary. She's taken a lot of nerfs in the recent patches, but still one to worry about. I still think Apollo might have been a bit scary, but it seems like Not something on the minds of our first pick. They're just more concerned about grabbing that Pele and the Cerberus being hovered. I mean, Aspect Cerberus has actually climbed up in my personal tier list. It was one that I thought was kind of useless at first. It's very difficult to stack up those ghost kills. But if you throw Cerb over to solo lane, very easy to get some big tick damage later on with that Ghastly Breath. Or you have the option of, as you were talking about, flex pick, just going non-aspect, going over to support, still has good clear, good damage, good CC. You never really know with this Cerb pick.
Yeah, I like seeing Thor here. I mean, Thor, again, he can play multiple roles, but obviously he does provide you that, way of getting around the map pretty quickly. Not full global, but semi-global ultimate. I think it's going to feel good here, especially when you're worried about a Pele being able to move around pretty quick. Obviously, Aspect is out. She could go that solo route. We see Agni picked along with a Sasano, so there's some more flex potential. I'm leaning more towards Sasano in I was gonna say support. That is not what I was wanting to say. In jungle, I mean, look, you throw the Sasano support out there, I'm gonna support it. But this kind of gives you a better idea of at least what they're leaning towards. But again, I'm kind of curious to see what happens with Kerberos here, where I'm with you. The Aspect before, it was kind of like, okay, cool. But now I think there's a lot more viability to it. Fenrir picked up here as well. I really like what the Gig Moss is coming up with here.
Yeah, and you got to remember that Agni Aspect also opens up the possibility of just throwing him over to ADC, which is usually where he's going to be found. But I've seen Aspect off. Let's go mid lane. Still has great intelligence-based damage. There's just so much flex potential here. But the one thing you got to look out for is that beads burn. I mean, the Cerb, the Thor, the Fenrir, all going to be pulling your beats so quickly. Agni and Susano, throw Bacchus in the mix as well. Don't really love that amount of just lockdown potential. So maybe a squad beads picked up later on to try and prevent that. The Khepri cleanse is also going to help out a bit, but you got to watch your positioning here. I mean, the Fenrir might be able to just start off every single team fight with pulling a relic or just being able to delete someone from the fight before it begins, especially if Khepri is being zoned out. So I'm going to be paying attention to more of the team fight phase here, especially early on. But now that you've locked in Jing Wei on the tail end of this draft, you're flexing a little bit more towards late game. I mean, Jing Wei is not one of those characters that comes online anytime early. Like even 3 items, you're kind of still hitting like a wet noodle. It's going to take some time before you can get those big crits off. So especially if you're laid up against Aspect Agni, you're going to be getting out traded pretty heavily until, I mean, I'd argue even late game Agni can win that trade with his CC. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Jing Wei fan. I've talked about it here on broadcast before. Right now, I just don't think she feels great, and it's like you talked about, it's not like she's gonna be doing much till mid game. Obviously they could set her up, they could maybe help her along the way to speed that process up. I mean, level 12, level 15 area, I think you kind of start seeing her come online. And then I'm really interested in the Merlin pick. If it's Aspect Merlin, we're in for a good time, because the Gamba is real and it's worth it if you want the extra int. I've always loved to see it. It provides another level of strategy, but I doubt we're going to see it here.
Yeah, let me provide you with a trade deal. I give you Aspect Merlin. You get 0 abilities at level 1 if you're unlucky. I love Aspect Merlin. I go it all the time. It's so fun. In a competitive setting where money could be on the line down the road, I can't imagine we're going to the Aspect here. It's just too untrustworthy. In ranked, all day. I'll go it all day. But the fact that you can actually have 0 abilities because of the way your rolls go, I just don't think we're going to see it here today. And as we can tell, not going to be the play.
No, and it's just one of those things I always like to highlight because it's for fun. I mean, it's, Gamba and then you end up with nothing and you're like, oh, this is quite unfortunate. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I do think some of the payoffs are really worth it in that trade. But we're here with game number 1 of week 3. It's Blaze and Charlie on the cast. We have Mort, Tess, basically Jithens as part of our admin and Eyes in the Sky today. And we're here for game number 1, Evolutions, the Gig Moss. Which of these teams, based off the picks and bans and the drafts, all that, Trelly, are you leaning towards here?
I mean, I really like the way Evolutions have decided to go for here, just because, as we mentioned, that late game that Jing Wei is going to be playing towards is just not going to come fast enough if you make any sort of mistakes. Like, you can play a very perfect early game and you should be fine, but it's just very difficult to make that last. You're going to see Evolutions already got off to a great start trying to find that pick there with Rocket Scientist and Eevee. Like, Susano mid is not going to care about clearing the wave, as you can see. He didn't even try to clear the wave. He's just trying to get damage onto Magic Mike here. They want to play aggressive. They want to play early. They're not going to let this game get late game if they have their opportunity. So this is all going to be on the Gigmoss to try and slow down the pace of the game as much as possible.
Yeah, and I feel like this is one of those things like, okay, we're going to take comfort picks. And we know one thing that kind of goes crazy in these first couple games is making the other team uncomfortable. And that's really what Evolutions have drafted here. How can we play super aggro and make people play on their back foot? Because that's when they're going to play their worst. And we see that just with Eevee in the mid lane running at, Merlin. Say, hey, you know what, Magic Mike? I'm going to run at you, and you're just going to have to worry about it later. Now, nice pull and beads used by Engstrom. There's the first blood by Drunk Diplomat. It might be another kill. It is. Eevee picks up another in the mid lane. 2 on the board for Evolutions. Feeling good here, less than 2 minutes into the game.
And that's what I'm talking about, especially with, you can look at the relic choices. SMH ends up going for Aegis, doesn't even get it off, doesn't get to use in that situation, because look at all the lockdown, look at all the CC on the side of Evolutions. You're going to need a beads more often than not. The Aegis is going to save you, maybe once, but getting out of trouble is really what you need, and that's not going to be the case here. And already that snowball has started to form. This is sort of what I was alluding to when you go this amount of late game potential. Gotta jump towards the tower here, but Engstrom doesn't have it. Another kill over to Eevee. 2-0 on the Susano mid, and that's a nightmare situation for the Merlin. Sure, Magic Mike hasn't died yet, but you are feeding his opposition, who can essentially just pull him and one-shot him once this game continues. Not a great look.
No, I mean, this is tough. And especially your Fenrir, you have pretty good jungle viability here to be able to deal with Susano, but not when you drop 2 and now you're behind. Your jungle's gone. You're looking for a way to farm, and it's just not there. I mean, it's just not. Making the way over to Snoozism now, trying to go, okay, maybe if I could do something over here, put some pressure. Those fire creeps are spawning soon. There's some options for the Fenrir. Engstrom has options, but they're going to be few and far between with the way this has started up.
I mean, take a look at the XP, though. Level 5 is a far ways here to go for Engstrom. There's not a lot of farm even on the map. You can take a look at the camps. There's just really nothing to go for. And all beads are available that are here. So you could look at Snoozism, you could look at Kill Cam Kenny, but without access to Ragnarok, it just doesn't matter. It's going to be a slow burn here. And you look at Rocket Scientist and Eevee, they already have access to ultimates. They're level 5. You don't want to step up to that anytime soon. So it seems like Engstrom is going to have to play for just that uncontested farm. If you walk to a camp and you see Eevee there, you turn around, you run. There's just no need to try and force the issue. It's not going to work out. You can tell that this is going to be a very passive early game here for Gigmoss. And it's all going to be dictated by where Evolutions decide to get active. They fought in mid. They fought over in duo lane. I don't think solo is going to be really the call here, but I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a very early, at least Gold Fury attempt, because take a look at their relics again. Double Sunder. They have the ability to just walk up and destroy Gold Fury the second it spawns in.
Oh, here we go. There's the play. They did get some damage on Evolutions there. It looked like they might be able to turn something around, but here comes a little Rocket Scientist. The beads are gone for an Engstrom, and it doesn't matter. Double ults in. Take him down. The Fenrir falls again to 0-3. Not where you want to be. And this does open up some extra farm for Evolutions. They could go over to those fire camps. They're going to take away a red buff here. I would like to see them go pick up the Pop Rocks, as I like to call them, over in the fire camp right now. That does do some pretty good scaling, especially if you collect them throughout the game. I mean, you talk about once Fire Giant spawns, you can have upwards of 20 of those Pop Rocks in pocket, getting the extra strength and intelligence throughout the game. Drunk Diplomat picks up another kill here onto SoundCloud, and Thor is in trouble, has to ult out. Now trying to get a back off. Doesn't get picked up by a little Rocket Scientist. I don't know. Oh, no, not this time. Perfectly calculated by SoundCloud.
Yeah, well played. Sprinkle was like, okay, I'm definitely going to get dove here, so I need to get to the sky. Literal Rocket Scientist sort of looked around to where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? And right behind the tower near the teleport pit was the call, and it ended up working out. I mean, I probably would have went for tier 2, but Literal Rocket Scientist would have tried to chase even there, so ended up choosing the right option there to make sure to live. I've been watching Engstrom, though, has not found much farm at all. Sitting at 0-3 here on the Fenrir, has just been sort of walking around in circles looking for anything. Finally, the ward camp gets shown, but you're not there to help out over in your duo lane because they're getting dove. SoundCloud goes down for the second time, and now you have a 3-0 Drunk Diplomat, and that's some scary stuff. You don't want to see a 1-0 Drunk Diplomat, but with Rage already finished up, I can't imagine they're gonna have trouble stacking this one.
No, I mean this is a pretty big yikes here. Agni, already getting that rage, looking for kills now, even assist to stack up some extra crit. I mean, that's not going to go away. It's just going to keep stacking on up. Once it's those 5 stacks, going to be doing in the work. And there's this early Gold Fury pool you'd mentioned earlier, Trelly. I mean, we're talking under 6 minutes. They're already pulling it. Obviously, the Gig Moss is aware. Can they step up and dissuade them from trying to get this? Can they try to take it away? We know Kerberos has the stunner. Can they steal it away? But there's 2 on the side of Evolutions. Then they go for the zone play. There's the Ragnarok. Nice pickup. They get Kill Cam Kenny. They go ahead and take it away. Here comes the Kerber Assault, but Evolutions puts them down. The Gig Moss did walk away with the steal there, so there's one thing in their pocket. They lose one, but they get a Gold Fury. I think that's a pretty worthwhile trade considering where the game is currently.
Yeah, but it depends on what happens next. You can kind of look around the map and see that Evolutions are still playing so aggressive. They're taking away farm whenever possible. Sure, the gold for that's a good. That's a win for sure. Ends up going to Magic Mike, even with the Sunder up. SoundCloud, it's got it at 1 HP, and the Merlin was able to tick it down. But what happens next? What else gets stolen away from the Gig Moss is the question. They are going to be happy that they were able to grab that, but you still have a 4-0 Susano in mid lane, a 3-0 Agni over in duo. And those are not problems that are going to go away easily. I'm thinking about Engstrom needs to get active and needs to get active quickly. Whether it's just pulling beads or trying to find a gank over towards some of these lanes that are fed. I don't think Susano's the call just because Eevee probably wins that 1v1 as long as the beads are available. And it's going to be really hard to grab anyway. But he already 3'd in. This could be it.
Oh, that was such a nice play. They get the kill on the Kill Cam Kenny. They're going to pick up Eevee too. There's the double kill for Engstrom. The struggle for farm was there, but there it is. They found it. Nice little sneak attack there. Catch him walking out of the jungle. And Evolutions were, taking it a little easy, not, be a little lazy, saying, oh, we can walk up. It's okay. No. Put down by the Gig Moss here. And they're looking for more. Here comes SoundCloud. They're looking for Rocket Scientist. Can you find a play onto the Pele as well? And Pele's going in, not too dissuaded by Magic Mike's damage. Engstrom over the wall is going to go ahead and try to steal away some farm from Evolutions.
Yeah, that was a selfish Typhoon. Like there was just no reason for Eevee to use the 3 aggressively there. Especially with beads down. Didn't know where Engstrom was, but even if you do know where Engstrom is at there, just no reason to use it. You're worth so much gold. Went out of position here, trying to go for the re-engage. Doesn't seem to be too much threat as long as Magic Mike blinks, but he doesn't. He ends up getting picked up here.
And Drunk Diplomat picks up a kill on SMH. There goes Eevee with the kill under the tower. They're diving. They don't care. Here comes the Rocket Scientist. He's looking for 1-2. SoundCloud takes the spill. That's going to be a lot put onto that tier 1 tower if they decide that they want to go after it. Looks like that's not going to be the case. I'm going to proxy that wave real quick. Evolution goes to grab a red buff, and they said, yeah, we took a spill, but we're going to come back, turn that around real quick. Let's run it back and see how it goes.
And see, this confuses me because you can see SMH ended up going for the Sunbeam bow first item, like trying to augment that poor early game from Jingwei. I can imagine this build works okay from ahead, but now that you're behind, there's just no world where you're finding good trades here. Sprinkle does have the hammer to get out, but is a tower dive in their future? Seems like no. Little bit of sustain baked in with that. Chalice of the regen is going to be just fine, especially with Aspect Thor. You are quite tanky, but that blue buff is not going to be going your way anytime soon. All across the map, man. Literal Rocket Scientist hasn't been able to get these last hits, but has been a part of 6 of these 10 kills and is making their presence known far and wide. I mean, all the way from duo to solo lane. If you have a buff spawn, if you're a little bit out of position, there's going to be a Pele at least a little bit nearby.
Yeah, I mean, even on the side, if you look over here at Kill Cam Kenny on the Kefri, you're part of 6 kills at this point. That's pretty good. Like, that's what you want to see from your team, is like being a part of the kill process, getting those assists on the board. They're just as important as getting the actual kill gold as well, especially from your support. 0-1-6, you're feeling pretty good if you're Kepri and you're able to put down that stat line right now. Obviously, it looked like the Gig Moss were looking to try to rotate and catch Drunk Diplomat off guard. They rotated 3 for 1, weren't able to find anything, but now Little Rocket Scientist is running towards SoundCloud and SMH. This could be problematic. There's the ultimate. They're going to try to throw up under the tier 2 tower. For now, a little scary, but they just back up. They go, cool, I'm still over half health. I don't have to really worry about it. We got an ultimate out of it. And guess what's up? Gold Fury's up. But 5 for the Gig Mus have made their way over to this left side jungle. They're looking to try to not only make a pick, but try to get this Gold Fury as well to make up for the deficit that they're at now. Nice little poke put out by them. They're grouped up. Now you have the Bacchus rotating up for Evolutions, looking to try to make some sort of play here. Both teams looking for a pick, but the Gig Moss say, no, it's the go button. It's time to just go pull the Gold Fury, and now Evolutions will respond. That Gold Fury still pulled, finally let go. Ingstrom had the beads, then Ragnarok. He could be in a little bit of trouble here. Killcam Kenny goes in. He gets the ultimate off. Eevee picks up Ingstrom. They put him down. The dog goes back to the pounds, and then here comes Sprinkle Me Dinkle, goes to the gray screen along SoundCloud, having to jump over the wall to get out. It's going to be Evolutions with a Gold Fury and 2 more in the pockets. It's going to feel pretty good here to make that gold lead just a little bit more.
Man, I'm not really sure what gave the Gig Moss the go button there. They only had 1 Sunder to their name. It wasn't as if there was any low health bars on the side of Evolutions. The only thing they had going for them is that Sprinkle rotated over out of solo lane, but Snoozism was able to match that pretty easily. It just didn't seem like that big of an opening to try and pull a Gold Fury, and especially on a play that they needed to make. This gold lead was not so absurd that they had to make a do or die play like pulling that Fury, and especially when they were able to confirm the first one. So it just seems like a pretty big oversight there on the side of Gig Moss. And Evolutions, they played it perfectly. You just let Killcam Kenny walk up, bait as long as possible. He's very tanky with the Gauntlet of Thieves and the Purification Beads. Stall a bit with that Scarab's Blessing, and then you know the rest of your squad's going to be there to clean up. 4-0-3 for Drunk Diplomat. We talked about those rage stacks, and they're coming along here nicely. And you can tell on the other side of the map, SMH cannot hope to match that damage. I mean, this Jingwei, we already knew was going to be in a rough spot early on, but you can't even begin to step up. Yeah, full Lernian bow just picked up there. You got your anti-heal, you got your crits, your range damage. You can confirm every hit of that with the stun from Nauseous Fumes. This is just a disaster lane. I don't know if Jingwei can really ever hope to farm here anymore.
Oh, now look at this. Evolutions are diving. They know where everybody is in this mid lane. It's a scary time. If you're Magic Mike, you look to turn around, you pick up a kill, but Evolutions says, no, no more. You're going to have to go back. It's a 1-for-1 trade. I mean, I think you take that one if you're the Gig Moss. You get rid of the Pele. That's a bit of the threat for setup. But I agree, back to that Gold Fury pool, it's like, look for a pick before you go for the gold. I mean, they kind of knew everybody was there. I mean, maybe they thought Snoozism hadn't rotated yet. But even still, I mean, as a 4v5, it's pretty good looks for Evolutions if they decide to pull that Gold Fury in front of their face. And now if they have to play, we're going to sit back passive, try to defend these towers. And Evolutions haven't pushed for towers per se, but there's not much stopping them at this point. If they get a pick, they can choose to push any of these tier 1 towers down pretty quickly. The only thing really good for the Gig Moss right now is Fire Giant hasn't spawned yet to be able to go taken, because I think that's going to be next on the board. Now, Ingstrom Ragnarox is able to pick up Eevee, but Killcam Kenny is around, going to keep that Sasano alive. So Ragnarok has been used, and that's about it. Drunk Diplomat with the 1v1 SMH. SMH trying to find it. Oh, you're going to dive in. Are you going to get it? Drunk Diplomat's in trouble. Trying to use the shake and it goes down to SMH. Picks up a kill. Just what you needed, but it will take the spill right afterwards to Pele. Oh, man. But that is what you need. That's a little bit of a confidence booster. Has that Tear Fang online to go wrong with that Sunbeam Bow. Doing some pretty good damage. Shout outs to SMH on that Jingwei.
Yeah, gets the max value out of that Aegis. That was really the difference maker there. Drunk Diplomat blew the whole kit and combo into an Aegis and then realized, wait, I've used everything, and you're kind of swinging back. I talked about how there's no way Drunk Diplomat can lose a 1v1. Well, if you drop your whole kit into an Aegis, you can find a way. Well played there by SMH, and that's a worthwhile trade, absolutely. You get the 4-0 shutdown. Sure, you end up losing your life, but that's going to be a confidence booster as well. We already mentioned that Jingwei is going to need to get late game, and that's the first step in doing so. The Gig Moss are grouping up a bit on the right side of the map. I thought maybe we're going to look towards a Pyromancer, but still, even with that kill, are pretty far down in the gold department, so I can see why they're trying to play this one a bit more passively. If there is a chance to try and fight, it's going to be around this next Gold Fury that spawns in here in a couple seconds, and I still think it's Evolutions all the way that have the aggressive positioning towards it, because you can see their relics are all available except for Killcam Kenny's Thunder, which will be back up in about a minute. And Engstrom, his work is cut out for him. Sure, a lot of auto attack damage with the Braggies and the Tear Fang, but there's just no good targets for Ragnarok when Killcam Kenny's around. He's got the Scarab's Blessing, he's got the beads, and everyone already has their own beads.
Yeah, I mean, I was really waiting for, he was hanging out in his own environment there as the hug bug in the grass, and now they go in under this tower. Rocket Scientist says, I don't care about tower damage, is gonna die, goes back to Killcam Kenny, a ton of damage is put out. They're gonna lose the tier 1 tower for the Gigmas. That's the play you wanted, because guess what? Gold Fury has spawned, one's off the board. Now you can think about, hey, let's just group up and run at Gold Fury real quick. There's not much they can do to stop us. They can go and try to take it away. Actually, 2 are off the board. SMH had taken a spill as well. And now, free Gold Fury here for Evolutions. It looks like, you know, SoundCloud's going to say, hey, I'm going to come over for this steal. I'm not even sure if that's worth it at this point, because if he goes down as well, there's the ultimate. Drunk Diplomat confirms it, but now SoundCloud is in trouble. If you lose your support here as well, this is going to be problematic. It opens up Pyro. Rocket Scientist takes up the kill. Looks like they're thinking about channeling some backs, but I would go straight to Pyro if I'm them. This opens up a ton of objective play for Evolutions.
Yeah, at this point, SMH may have gotten a little bit too big there. Got the solo kill, was like, I can go back in. Realized, wait, I don't have the Aegis, and I actually do get one shot off of a stun here. Ends up dying. The Gold Fury pull after the fact was just free. I mean, SoundCloud, I think, does have to go for an attempted steal there just to try and keep, the team's mental in check, but this didn't ever seem to work out. I really thought Little Rocket Scientist was going to mess up that dive there because of the lifesteal, right? There was a lot of healing with the Blood Forge, and the Kepriot almost timed out, but still ended up working in favor of the Evolutions. They get the res off, and then you've got your fed jungler. Pretty easy to continue the siege elsewhere. Pick up a Pyromancer as well. Runic Bomb in pocket for the Rocket Scientist. And now you just play this one a bit slow. I mean, you have plenty of damage towards a Fire Giant. Full Demon Blade picked up by Drunk Diplomat. But you don't really have to rush it, because where are the power spikes? Take a look around. Magic Mike ended up getting Chronos Pendant. Not really great for damage, but CDR. There could be a good gank attempt. It looks like Drunk Diplomat's in some trouble, but Sprinkle able to get up to the sky. I think the Agni's going to die here, though.
Yeah, I mean, yep.
He gets the kill.
Diplomat picks it up. Now running away, gets a great beads. Instrom couldn't find the kill. Wow. The 1v2. Evolutions makes that rotation. Now looking to fight Ingstrom in the dual lane. Can the Fenrir live to see another day? Evolutions looks like they might be in a bit of trouble. There's the beads, and no, Drunk Diplomat walks back over and says, I'm gonna ruin the 1v1. You don't get this today. And on the other side of the map, the Gigmas is trying to fight this out in a 2v3. Killcam Kenny looking to keep the Pele alive. There's the ultimate, and now they're gonna run away here. They're not gonna risk the dive to die. But this is a nice little play here. It opens up a possible pick potential for Sprinkle. Sprinkle's going to let it go for now, but look at this. Rocket Scientist looking for a way back in, is going to dive on to the Naga. We'll pick that up along the way, but it's still a nice little fight for the Gigmas. They've made this last a decent amount of time. They've gotten an ultimate or two for it. Honestly, I think you take that. It kind of dissuades going for a fire for a little bit. But Evolutions, what a fantastic play over in the duo lane. And I was going to talk about power spikes with you. I mean, we see the Odibo picked up. I feel a little bit odd about that. Like, yeah, you're going to clear the wave a little bit, but is that the power spike you want there for the Jingwei Trilly?
I mean, I've seen this build floating around a bit. It's definitely decent late game once you get, your Titan's Bane and your Kins, and I think even Haste and Vitalis sometimes go through. But you can see you're not going to trade well with crit, especially with how far ahead Drunk Diplomat is. This is a build to shred through tankier targets in front of you. It is not necessarily a 1v1 versus a crit Agni build. So yeah, not exactly the way that I would have went. But hey, it worked out once. That was the thing. I mean, SMH from behind was able to outtrade one single time, got immense value from the Aegis, and looked good doing so. But I don't think there was ever really going to be a chance for that 1v1 to happen again. That was a sort of once-in-a-lifetime matchup there, because Drunk Diplomat already finished Executioner, has plenty of attack speed, plenty of crit chance. This Agni is a threat to everyone on the map currently. So I'm thinking could be time to pull Ancient Fury. It's spawning in here shortly. Yep. Rocket Scientist was in danger for a second, but there's a big grouping here. The Gigmas might actually try to go in. You can see Snoozism did TP over top left, so Bacchus is on the way.
Yeah, I like this rotation by Snoozism going from the deep side of this so that they maybe sneak in and catch them from the side, and they're not going to expect it. They have no idea that he's there, and he's working his way in. Now Rocket Scientist finds a play in. There's the beads from Ingstrom trying to get out. Actually, just a leap out, but Ingstrom's in trouble. The leap is gone, and you don't have a way to escape. Here we go. The curb with the ultimate. Eevee picks up Sprinkle, and now SoundCloud's in trouble. SoundCloud's out. Drunk Diplomat picks up another. They're going to dive the tower. They're going to look for SMH. Will they find him? It doesn't really matter. You could go over and just take the Ancient Fury right now instead of chasing this down. They're going to get the tier 1 tower, but I think the play is a Gold Fury. They decide to keep going in. SMH is gone. It is 4 for nothing in favor of Evolutions. They pick up a tier 1 tower along the way to the Ancient Fury, which will mean they get all 3 buffs along with the Ancient Fury buff. This is going to feel pretty good here at 20 minutes into the game. And I don't know, do they decide they want to continue pushing somewhere, or do they back and head for a Fire Giant, Trilly?
I think it's about that time. Looks like Pyromancer at the very least could be on their mind, but I think Fire Giant is all but guaranteed at this point because of the lead that they've built for themselves. We finally get to see Snoozism get active with this Aspect Bacchus, something that I've been a big fan of. Does very good strength damage, especially with the Sorelin. Yes, they will walk right past the Pyro and pull this FG. They've got minions. They've got a Runic Bomb. They've got one Sunder in their pocket, but here comes the Gigmoss. They have to go for a Miracle Steal. Couldn't be that difficult to manage, so they got to kill Serb first.
Yeah, I mean, SoundCloud's up here looking for a play, but very, very low. And remember, this is a 4v5. Rocket Scientist is on the other side of the map. Eevee picks up the kill on SoundCloud. That's exactly what you needed if you're Evolutions. You're like, cool, we baited you, we got one, now we get a Pyro. Just perfectly executed here by the Evolutions.
Yeah, they didn't have to go in for the Fire Giant. The fear of it alone was enough to step forward. Does seem like Little Rocket Scientist is going to back off after getting the tier 2. That's enough of a win. You get another Runic Bomb in your pocket. Now one for Eevee, one for Literal Rocket Scientist. So you could turn that into just destroying a Phoenix or being some solid burst towards Fire Giant. But considering you have 2 Sunders already, I think you save those for your siege later on. I'm trying to see the ways that the Gigmoss can try to look back here. We haven't seen a great Anvil of Dawn yet. Sprinkle hasn't really been able to get active, as you can see, has been a part of 0 kills so far on the squad. But, I mean, Thor Dunk could be a great way to get one of these fights started. Magic Mike was able to finish up the totem, so a little bit of extra damage there. Match that with Ghastly Breath, and you are doing a pretty good amount of DPS, but I mean, it's all going to be about trying to save this Fire Giant. Literal Rocket Scientist still not here, though. At best, it's going to be a 4v4 because SMH's still over there, but it's getting low here, Blaze.
Yeah, I mean, we're at 5,000 health. It's going to burn fast. You look, here comes SoundCloud with the Sunder, but it doesn't matter. Drunk Diplomat confirms it. Also picks up the dagger, so that's something to watch out for. And meanwhile, on the back end of this, it's just been Rocket Scientist running it down in a 1v2. Ingstrom is gone. SoundCloud trying to find a way out. Drunk Diplomat picks up Magic Mike as they take down the tier 2 on the right-hand side, and this is problematic across the board. Now, you have the Curb trying to run away. That's going to work for the time being. The rest of Evolutions go towards the mid lane. There's a tier 2 still up, so they need to take that before they can do anything to a Phoenix, but they don't seem to care. They're looking for Thor, and he is gone. Rocket Scientist grabs him while Eevee picks up a kill way out in the right side jungle. Left side bird is going to be the way they look. It will fall very, very quickly here as they have the Nagas, and then they can push into the Titan room if they want. The only thing to stop them at this point is SMH with the back. It's a 1v5. It's the Jingwei versus everybody. The Titan is burning. Can you find something? Good damage put out onto the Pele, but it's the Aegis have to be used. You have to dash away. Ingstrom is up looking for a play. There's the beads. SMH picks up one. Oh my goodness, the Gigmoss are turning it around. Eevee's low. Magic Mike picks up one. That is 4 gone for Evolutions. The defense stands. The Gigmoss looking for the chase down. They want the Deicide. Suzism looking for a play. No, you're gone too. Deicide and a triple kill for Magic Mike.
I mean, a little bit of an overextension, no? They didn't have any sort of minions. They just kind of sent Kill Cam Kenyon and said, you can tank the Titan up. He said, no, I absolutely cannot. This thing swings. They could have played that so much slower. It's not as if it's going to be the end of the game, right? You're going to lose a tier 1, a tier 2, some buffs. But man, Evolutions definitely bit off a bit more than they could chew on that one. I think going for the Phoenix and then backing up, you get to grab an Ancient Fury. You can grab a tier 2. You can go for Pyro again. There was just so many better plays to make. But hey, they had a big lead. They got a little bit overzealous. They are going to lose the Ancient Fury in the process. But I don't think it's the end of the world, right? The Gigmoss finally gets some wind in their sails. That's going to be the big difference maker here. Time to get some power spikes. Level 20 has been reached. Wait, hold on. They might not even get this. Killcam Kenny's
Hold
here
on.
with the Sunder. They're already back.
Under attack. Oh no. Okay, SMH gets the Gold Fury, but it was looking a little scary there for a second because Killcam Kenny said, I'm here and I'm the hug bug and you'll have to deal with me. Rocket Scientist is going in. The Gigmas are on full retreat. They had such a great defense, but it looks all for naught as Drunk Diplomat goes in. Eevee now looking for the play onto Magic Mike. Eevee picks up a kill and Evolutions are running it down. They said, cool, we overstepped once. We're not overstepping again. SoundCloud looking to try to say, hey, let's just extend this a smidge longer. Killcam Kenny definitely healthy enough this time to provide Drunk Diplomat with a way to take down the Titan. Evolutions are going to take this game.
A little bit messy, a little bit shaky towards the end, but at the end goal, we did arrive. And unfortunately, we never did get to see that late game team fight that the Gigmoss was looking for, right? They got one great stop because of an overextension by Evolutions, but that was all Evolutions all the time. I mean, there was some glimmers of goodness there, like the early Gold Fury still comes to my head. Some solid gank, the 1v1 over in duo for SMH, but besides that, I mean, Evolutions were kind of just dominant from minute one, and off the backs of not exactly unconventional picks. We've seen off-roll Susano that can just, you know, dominate in the 1v1 plenty of times. I was really liking the Pele. I mean, literal Rocket Scientist was just across the map using that movement speed to their advantage to just make sure that everyone, if you weren't getting ganked, you at least knew there was a Pele nearby, especially near your buff spawn. So very clinical, very just dominant gameplay there from the Evolutions. Definitely a team to watch.
Yeah, the Gigmoss gave us the hope in our sails. They gave us the hope. They were like, oh, wow, what a great defense. Maybe there's a little bit of a turnaround here. Evolutions from start to finish, they put it all together. Obviously, they had a little hiccup along the way, but it's like you mentioned, they had the gold to be able to make that type of play. But that's our first game of the day. We'll be having more here in just a few. We're going to send it over to a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to week 3. Smite Prime in June. It's Plays and it's Trelly here after our first game where we saw Evolutions take a pretty demanding, win over the Gigmoss, and really well played. I thought the Gigmoss did try to find their way back in at certain points. It just couldn't actually come to fruition along the way. But we should have some replays and some post-game stats to talk about before our next matchup. So we're going to throw it over to some replays, Trelly, and kind of see what all was going on.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of started from the early stages, and that's something that you could tell from picks and bans, in my opinion. The Gigmoss definitely drafted more for that late game, hoping that they could get online, and Evolution said, we're drafting to run you over. We're going to make sure that you don't get online. And it was going to be a battle of attrition, and ended up working out pretty heavily in Evolution's favor. They really never let the Gigmoss get rolling. There was, again, that good Gold Fury steal early on by Magic Mike, and SoundCloud kind of making that steal happen. But besides that, they were still losing in every single lane from very early on. It's like, even with a Gold Fury steal or a shutdown or two, that's not enough to get the ball rolling. And I'm not sure if I want to put it all on P's and B's. Like, it does seem like Evolutions have a very vast god pool as is, but definitely something that you want to watch out for in a tournament like this. Like, late game is not always guaranteed. Late game is not a privilege. You have to earn it, right? Like, you need to make sure that you get your team to late game, and you have to draft accordingly. I can see they kind of tried to do that here with Sprinkle and Engstrom. Like, there was some early game presence there, just not nearly enough, especially with someone like Merlin, who does have decent enough early game, but still wants to farm, wants to get some items online. Whereas Eevee, I mean, this Susano was bullying everyone. We already mentioned how literal Rocket Scientist was just, across the map constantly. It's not as if this Susano wasn't also getting active just about everywhere. Part of 10, 1, and 5. Like, that's the stat line at this point. That is a lot of rotations from the Susano.
Yeah, I mean, this comes down to, like, trying to facilitate that late game. I think that's where the struggle is like, we had some early game setup that seemed like it might go well from the Gigmoss. It's like, okay, they can facilitate SMH getting there. They can facilitate the Magic Mike getting there if they can have the presence there. Evolutions were like, hey, we want to just hold down the W key and run at you as much as possible. And that really works out pretty well. if you're playing a team that you can make feel uncomfortable. I talked about that earlier on. You have all these different comfort picks for you. If you can throw them off their game a little bit and really put the pressure on early, sometimes that really works out in your favor. We saw that with Eevee and Mid, 11-2-5. Little Rocket Science, 11-2-10. Drunk Diplomat, 11-2-10. I mean, these are some pretty heavy KDAs for the carries of Evolutions.
Yep, and again, there was a bit of shutdown there to where they were able to actually claim the gold, but it just did not really seem to matter. You have to find some sort of a grouping, which never really came to be. I wanted to see a bit more from that Thor solo as well. Maybe if Sprinkle was able to like rotate out and help out the squad. But he was under fire as well. It wasn't as if even solo lane was safe.
Yeah.
Wasn't a lot of deaths on the Thor, but like I said, Rocket Scientist was there. That blue buff did not belong to him.
No. And I mean, we talked about Little Rocket Scientist being everywhere. Look at the damage dealt. 40,000 plus damage for the jungle of Evolutions is a real crazy stat when you look at the rest of the damage dealt from the team. Obviously was everywhere in trying to set up as much as they could in the game. But we're going to throw it back over to the bracket to see who won in their first sets of games and what we're moving on to. We have Cherry Slush versus Showbiz. Our next game that we're going to be watching, Clocked In versus MB Backstep or what? Bible Study versus Evolutions, and The Bakery versus Bale Inviolable. Some good games coming up. I'm excited for this Clock In versus MB Backstep or what. We talked about fun names. We're getting another one of your fun name teams here, Trelly.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking forward to, man. It seems like they know. They're only spectating the ones with the best names, but only one team can prevail, and there's a lot on the line, as we have already mentioned, so hopefully give us some good action.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how picks and bans go this time around. I mean, we talked about it, the game number one, kind of like, okay, it's kind of this feeler part of the tournament of like, you just ban meta. But you reach a point where you're like, okay, I know what these guys really like to play or what I don't want to face. So as we head over the picks and bans, we're going to find out, okay, do they want to face this or not? Or are they going to go for these more meta type bans? We have some names in this one that we well know. I mean, Karmic, Tegvir, Paul, Happen, all really, really great in their roles. But on the other side,
you gonna skip over the most famous name there? What are you talking about? That's
SpongeBob
the guy. What do you
SquarePants?
mean? Yeah, he's known worldwide. You're like, yeah,
He is.
Carmen,
I was gonna
Tegvir,
say-
Paul Happen, and Mr. Bob,
Yeah.
as we know.
Yeah. On the other side, I mean, but look, on the other side, we got a bunch of good names too. Like it's going to be interesting because they do know each other a little bit more than maybe other teams do. They kind of know what the comfort is here. I mean, you have Twig, Speak No Evil, Rimakami, Kyaka, and then Kono. I mean, again, they know each other a little bit more. And I feel like when we get in these situations with picks and bans, we kind of remove ourselves necessarily from the meta and go, okay, these are picks we don't want them to play. Like
Right.
I've seen Hecate, and I can say that's not maybe necessarily something you want to see today with some other pieces that go along with that team comp.
Yep, Bari definitely one that jumps out to me as well. Paul just recently posted a clip on Twitter of getting like a quadra kill with Bari mid, so definitely something that Backstep is not going to want to get into their hands. So I guess smart play there as well, just to make sure that Paul not with the option. Mordred though is interesting. It does seem to me like that's a pick that Karmic likes a lot. So it does not surprise that they're like, hey, maybe we're not looking to play it in solo this game, so let's just not like sure that gets through. But as I already mentioned, Hunbat still top of the meta as far as junglers go. Very annoying to try and deal with. Strength-based junglers in a very good spot right now, as we saw Literal Rocket Scientist, literal Rocket Scientist. These long names, man. Was showing that off very well, and even the Susano mid from last game, like those kind of picks are in a good spot. So definitely expect to see more of those assassin-style junglers at the forefront of your mind. But Apollo still something that I think could be very annoying to try and deal with here. We mentioned the Kali with Aspect last game, even Agni, something to keep your eyes on. But it's gonna be Neath here in that last slot, which I still think in a decent spot. There was a time when we first got into competitive Smite 2 where the Book of Thoth Transcendence style Neath was very popular. Right now, it's more so just full int, one shot potential is there. The World Weaver is on constant cooldown, get as much CDR as possible. That style of play still very viable and one to watch out for.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of those ones that you go, wait a minute, I'm okay. And then like 3 abilities in, you're like, wait a minute, I'm dead. Or I'm at 10 health and I have to run away. Not to mention backflip, she has really good mobility. She can kind of get her way out. She's also ulting across the map, trying to pick a target and say, okay, this is who we're going to kill right here, right now. We see the Thor ban as well. They go paired with that Humbats. And our first 2 picks are going to be Aladdin and Guan Yu. which Guan Yu in Smite 2 can be pretty good a lot of the times, especially with healing.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Honestly, Guan Yu kind of fell off the radar a bit when he first came out. We saw a lot of like full intelligence style builds using that cooldown reduction to get some funny clips, but not too much viability. So it should be interesting to let it go. But one pick that you never want to let go is that Aladdin. Definitely some scary stuff. Followed up with the Uller as well. So a lot of single target damage here, but definitely something to watch out for. The lockdown potential seems quite high here, especially with Yemoja, a pick that we haven't seen too often. Definitely disgusting early on. The team fight presence, the healing, trying to match some of that sustain that Guan Yu brings may be the call here. But Backstep, they're setting themselves up with a lot of that lockdown as well. CC, still the name of the game here. And I mean, both squads are getting a heavy chunk of it.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see where does Aladdin go here. I mean, I've seen a lot of Aladdin mid. I think Aladdin mid plays fairly well. Obviously, still good in the jungle too. Uller, they're looking for some pretty quick one-shot potential between these two gods. And we talked about Yemoja before broadcast this morning, and I said, this is one god we don't get to see a lot of that I personally like to see, because she's one of those like true supportish type of supports where she's really peeling, able to heal. There's a lot she can do to break up a team fight, and kind of sometimes force you to go certain relics against this, Guan Yu, Pele, Finra, Jingwei. Jingwei, again, something I wasn't necessarily expecting to see a lot of today. This is our second match in a row. So maybe we see a different play style this time around for the Jingwei, and maybe a better facilitation of getting it to that mid-late game phase where it's going to feel good. Susano is back, and then a Chalk, which is always a good time. You can't ever go wrong if Chalk's in the game. That huge silence that's going to come through in those team fights, along with this River's Rebuke, could be really, really powerful in setting up some pretty nasty team fights and just overall rotations. Poseidon, a god that I've been enjoying seeing. I'm really excited to see him here today. Curious to see if it's going to be Aspect or not. I think both versions of Poseidon are fairly good, and to see how they decide to go up around building them. Do you go the auto attack or do you go more ability based? There's some pretty good options here for that Poseidon for MB Backstep. Both these comps are looking pretty good here, Trelly.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. It doesn't seem like there's too many mysteries here. I mean, I imagine you send Paul with the Aladdin into mid lane. You just let Tagveer take his Susano. He loves that pick in the jungle. And then I guess SpongeBob's got himself an Uller. Last time I watched SpongeBob, he was just on Donza with the Aspect and full intelligence. So it should be interesting to see how pilots the Uller, assuming that's where it goes. But definitely a lot of team fight presence here. I already mentioned the single target CC, but you end up with Susano and Chalk towards the end of your draft, which really alleviates some of that presence. A lot of big AoE damage there towards the end. But Backstep, they're going to have their work cut out from them. Not only does Jingwei take a while to get online, but Poseidon is not going to be safe. You gotta watch out for your positioning here on Poseidon up against things like Aladdin and Uller, Yemoja especially. It's just going to get you out of position so easily with those Riptides. So I think a slow early game is still on the docket here for MB Backstep. But if they're able to sort of bridge that gap to the mid game, they have a very solid pick-based composition here with that Poseidon, the Fenrir, a lot of CC from the Guan Yu. I'm excited to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, I'm excited as we hop into the game here to kind of see what's the flow going to be like between these two teams. I mean, you mentioned the Poseidon not really having this option to be able to get away super easily. And that's one of the things that concerns me, because you want the beads to avoid the CC that's going to come your way. But later on, I mean, you have to worry about this Yemoja and just separating you off in a team fight because you can't get out without a shell. And the only shell they have is Speak No Evil on the Guan Yu. So it's going to be interesting to see. But as a reminder, we have Cash Money More and Testai in the sky running production today. And we have basically on the social media, and Jithin's the man, the myth, the legend running our whole admin side of things. So shout outs to them since they're not on the cams today with us, Trelly. But between these two teams, are you valuing one draft more than the other?
I mean, I really do like what Clockton has decided to go for here. They've diversified their damage quite well. They have a lot of fizz damage, obviously, but Paul can dish out a ton with Happen here in the magical department, so that's not really going to be an issue either. The one question mark for me is going to be how often you're able to pull objectives with a composition like this. Like SpongeBob on the Uller really does not do a lot of objective damage. Aladdin as well, like it's going to do a bit of burst, but the consistent tick damage is really not there. So it seems like Clockton is probably going to try and play more so around just aggressive plays. Happen loves going for this call, starting Sunder and just starting your buff. And you can see Backstep have decided, wait, we can't fight. But there's nothing we can do about that. We didn't bring Sunder. So we're just going to try and clear the wave in the meantime. And you sort of just lose wave pressure for it. You can try and invade purple, which is what they're going for here, but not exactly going to be worth it, because you can see Happen saved the Sunder.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to hold up. He's going to walk up and be annoying and be like, oh, hey, you wanted that purple buff? Let me show you a cool story. I walk up at Sunder, or I force you to come fight me, which is even better for Clocked In, because it's going to confirm them being like, a beads used by Kano here. That's just not what you want to see this early into the game. That sets up an early gank over to the dual lane if that's the way they decide to go for jungle. Really good plays here by Clocked In. Tegvir picks up the first blood on the Twig in the mid lane. And that's a scary, scary time setting up Paul. Speak No Evil's in trouble. Kano's in trouble over on the duo side as well. SpongeBob getting that early purple on the invade with Happen seems to be paying off dividends here, Trelly.
Yep, Beats and Shell immediately down. You're going to be losing every single trade because you didn't get a buff. You're not level 2 like SpongeBob is. And I mean, it's just a disaster over in duo lane. And of course, like I said, Poseidon it's just feast or famine here in mid lane. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to fight against Aladdin and Susano early. You could see Kyoka just kind of ignored and said, hey, I'm going to get the buff, just watch out. And Twig said, I can't do that. Nah, that is an offer that I must refuse, unfortunately, because I'm always out of position if Tegvir is around. Maybe didn't beat the pull, maybe didn't even use it. With the 1 and the 3, you've got plenty of damage on Tegvir to just try and take out an early game Poseidon. So kind of a disaster start. And I am baffled at how many chalices we are seeing here. Definitely a strong item and one I like to get to. But usually when you make a good play, right? When you get first blood, when you have some gold in your pocket, Twig gets first blooded and invests into a chalice. It's going to be so long before this Poseidon does anything at Kano. Yeah, this lane is tough, man. Axe into stun, into slow. There's just going to be so much damage. Kano, there's not a lot of farm for you to get in the grayscale.
I mean, SpongeBob threw that axe with just diligence to it. Just like, it will hit, and it threw it, and it walked back into it. Oh my goodness. Doesn't feel good for that Jingwei. We talked about this earlier. It's that Jingwei start. It makes it really difficult because, like, you're not clearing waves as fast. Even as Ullr here, like, you're going to take time to get online, and they're accelerating SpongeBob getting online. Already level 4 here, not even 3 minutes into the game, already has a kill. And it's like you said, it's a little bit weird on the investment in to these chalices. And there's another axe. Going to be axing a lot of questions today, SpongeBob says, as the Guan Yu now has to back Speak No Evil in a bit of trouble. And this is a great dual lane start here for Clocked In. They obviously have a good start in mid too, but that dual lane's looking pretty good for Clocked In. Might be a little bit catastrophic for MB Backstep.
No, they're just waiting. I mean, hit the axe into the stun. If it happens a little, like a second quicker on that, you definitely see a kill onto Speak No Evil. But regardless, I think the call here is to wait for Kyoka. Just wait for the Fenrir to show up. You need some help if you're going to try and get out of this hole that you've dug yourself here. Level 5, not a big power spike for Ullr, but getting access to River's Rebuke is going to be a big deal. Even with the Phantom Shell being forced, that Omi regen is going to be enough to try and force some sort of regression here. Playing smart, though. Clocked In, not overextending. Even with Sunder, they know, wait a second, there's no Fenrir on the map, so we really don't want to overextend and try and go for an invade, despite the fact that we are super ahead over in duo lane. I don't want to go too crazy. Paul is forced to just play as aggressive as possible. I mean, he's got his wishes still on Aladdin. He doesn't really have to fear anything on the map currently, and you just have so much movement, so why not? Why not step forward?
There's a River's Rebuke. I'm surprised it was used there under the tower to separate things out. I would have liked to maybe seen it saved if a gank come their way, but I still like the extra poke. There's Twig getting the ultimate off. Tegvir is in a bit of trouble. Doesn't even have a health bar. I must know how much health that was at. And now at 80, but at the time, it had to be single digits. Tegvir somehow gets the Aegis of a lifetime off to survive there against the Kraken. Twig was like, I'm getting a kill, and Tegvir says, not today. Now Paul looking to throw into the lamp. No, Ragnarok used, and it shreds Paul down, but that's going to be a dropped kill. They're going to say, okay, we're going to take the TKO, and that's going to be good enough against Paul for now. That Aladdin matchup is going to be interesting, because if you go and you hit it and they pop the Ragnarok or beads, doesn't feel as useful for the Ragnarok, but beads are going to feel pretty good getting every time. I always like seeing Aladdin go take the fight in the cage. I'm sure we'll get some good ones throughout this game. But you mentioned this level 5 spike for Ullr is not that big of a deal, but I think what is going to be kind of nice is first item. I mean, he's picking up Serrated here. That's a pretty nice spike early on into this Jingwei, who wasn't even able to finish a full item yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit before Kano can really try and find any sort of engagement here. But pulling double relics off of Tegvir and Paul is a big deal. I mean, like Kyoka could just wait and try and grab Tegvir. I don't think that's a terrible idea. With no beats for a solid minute at this point, minute 15 seconds, there could be some engagement that they're looking for. Of course, Paul has options. He has Chronos Pendant and I believe plenty of CDR with that Sands of Time. So yeah, you can just sort of spam the lamp off cooldown. And if you're really in trouble, you can wish for power and get your beads and your ult back off cooldown. So there's going to be options there for Paul. But remember, Twig also doesn't have beads for 50 seconds. A lamp, a pull in from Tegvir, a knock up with the Typhoon. The mid laners are going to have to play pretty safe here, at least for the time being. I'm curious if Paul opts to go in for that full cooldown build that was kind of floating around with Worldstone and Deso, where you just get 12 lamps in a fight, but speak no evil and speak nothing from the Grayscale. Ends up falling down there to happen, but the rotations are coming.
Oh, there's the Kraken on the happen, and they rotate over and they put down the Yamoja. That's something that they definitely needed, but look at this. This is a great play here. SpongeBob goes to step up, now looking to run back to the team. Tegvir Paul on the way. Now it's clocked in, looking to see can they pull MB Backstep into doing something that's a little bit more shenanigansy to go their way. But no, just a great rotation into there out of MB Backstep. Just putting it all together, picking up Happen. And that's a nice little rotation there and lets you know, okay, they are aware of the issues over in duo lane. They can make something happen. They just have to take their time to do it. And it's one of those things that's really frustrating in duo lane, especially as the ADC, where you have to play passive. You're on this Jing Wei that can make it back to lane fairly quick. You'd like to be able to find something early to kind of spin your game forward. But sometimes it's just having to play the slow game and going, okay, we can't step up right here. Or if we're going to step up, it's because our jungle is around. Tegvir picks up the kill over on the mid side yet again. Tegvir getting a really good start this game. Just feeling good at 2-0. But now the fight is back over on the duo side. Speak No Evil has stepped up. Looking to see, can they make a play here? There's no help on the way over. So now they run back. No stun there. So it's just a play of, can SpongeBob hit a nasty axe to set something up? Or do they play for some other objective for now?
I mean, at this point, it's kind of crazy the start that Tegvir is having, considering he's going a stacking item, right? You don't really have your power spike just yet with the Transcendence. You're kind of playing a bit for late game there. Paul, forced to beat, still in a bit of trouble here, has to lamp it, but I think he can win this 1v1 if he plays smart.
Oh, no, he doesn't win it. He hits the lamp, but it doesn't matter. Twig puts him down, coming out of the lamp. Tegvir picks up another kill, 3-0. But man, he couldn't get up on the wall fast enough to dodge any of that damage. Great play there by Twig. You know, I always love seeing Aladdin ult. It's just fun because, you know, it could go either way. And when it goes the way of the person getting aggressed upon, it's always impressive.
Yeah, I'm kind of baffled there. I figured Paul would just dash in, barrel stuff, and then run up the wall. If you look at his build, it's cooldown based. It's not damage based. He's trying to spam you with damage, run away, wait for his cooldowns to come back before yours. But he ended up just getting in real close, getting hit by the full brunt of that title surge with the Trident active, and that is not where you want to be. Getting barrel stuffed by Poseidon is kind of a nightmare. But I will say Twig did kind of force Paul into hitting that lamp to like avoid the Kraken damage, so maybe it was the last line of resort and he wasn't going to win the 1v1 anyways. Regardless, great play by Twig to try and get back into it. Remember, he fell down twice already this game, but now on the board, kills-wise, that Doom Orb ends up working out quite well. It's one of my favorite new starts because a lot of different mid lane starts. Book of Thoth, you know, Deso was pretty popular for a bit. Of course, just going into Chronos Pendant has kind of been the flavor of the month, but Doom Orb's going to give you a ton of intelligence, especially if you're constantly farming, which a Poseidon is going to be doing.
Well, it gives you that little bit of extra movement speed too, which, you know, we talked about the Poseidon kind of feeling that early on in the game. He's a little bit easier to track down until he can kind of get his stim online. You give him a little bit more movement speed, and then all of a sudden he's zooming around the map, zooming around these team fights. It gets a little bit harder to lock down. I think it feels good, especially early. You're pairing that with the Sands of Time, so you get that mana regen. You have the cooldown. I like it overall. I'm with you. There's a lot of different starts, but I think for Poseidon, that has to feel pretty good here. You know, 1-2-1 for Twig. Not too bad of a start. Started off a little bit rough, but now
1-3-1
back
now
on the board. But now back, yeah, I'll say back to be 1-3-1 as
he
dive into the tower. No, survives for now. The mid lane fight might take a little bit of a turn here as we have some rotation coming in, but no. Twig gets to live to see another day.
Yeah,
We
it was
didn't
good beats,
casters
man.
curse him. Look at that. It
was-
was a
it
good
was-
beats. It was a good
It
beats.
was a good beats. He ends up beating the pull, and I think it also beats the knockup. He had to make that play because Tagvir and Paul, they probably chain their CC together. You can see their ults are on similar cooldowns here. If they used the beats with one ult and then got the lamp with the other or vice versa, we definitely find a kill there. But Twig, not one to make that mistake, right? He holds on to his relics until the perfect time to use them. But that's the thing about Paul's build. If you take a look at his diamond, it's already on the way back. Like Deso, Sands of Time, Chronos Pendant, he's going to have a lamp here shortly, which means you're going to have to use that tried movement speed to your advantage to try and get out of dodge and make sure you're not getting hit by that lamp anytime soon. But hey, I mean, Clocked In, despite the fact that they had that early lead, have not really tried to go in for any sort of Gold Fury yet. They're feeling a little bit threatened, but Paul under the tower in a little bit of trouble here.
And Happen, helped set that up, and now there goes the Fenrir too. And this is what you want to see before you pull the Gold Fury. You need those picks. They're going to take a tower. They said, yeah, get that mid tower out of here. Let's open up the farm for us in the jungle. Let's open up the potential to move to Gold Fury or Pyro now, taking out that tower. Really great play there by Clocked In. They knew that Twig was going to be in trouble based off of relic usage. And, we look over at Paul and like, cool, he used an ultimate, but now it's just charging back up yet again. That cooldown's gonna be feeling pretty good. A totem picked up here for Twig. It's gonna be the Gold Fury pool now for Clocked In. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of a threat here. It looks like it's just gonna go their way for free, and that's gonna feel pretty good. You're already up 4K gold, but now you go up a little bit more, and you get the first part of your Gold Fury buff. Can't be mad about it. Gold difference at 5,500. XP difference not too far behind. Clocked In is exactly what their name is. They're clocked into this game right now, and they're not making too many mistakes along the way here, Trelly.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Ramakami is going to rotate out here shortly to try and help, right? Because the Pele isn't exactly ahead. Like, Harmik has been getting the better end of some of these Fire Giant camps and things like that. But besides that, is in a decent enough spot to try and assist with the squad. Maybe a teleport over to duo lane, something like that. We are seeing the 1v1 here. Twig does have a Kraken, but can't use it until the jump's down. At least the squad's showing up.
Oh yeah, everybody's in the lamp now. Tegrir picks up the kill on the Twig, but it was close. But then no, Speak No Evil takes a spill. No one's waiting for him outside of it. I was wondering if Rumakami might make that rotation over. It's like you said, I do think Rumakami has a pretty good availability of making rotations a lot faster than Karmic does. So it's going to be one of those things to watch over in the solo side. It looked like they were going to kind of just collapse onto Clocked In over on that right side jungle, but great Riptides by Happen helped that get set up to where they could get out. There was like 2 in a row that just made it where, okay, hey, you're not going to get CC'd by Guan Yu. Have a nice day, we re-engage. And that's what you want to see out of your support, is being able to set up things like that. And Clocked In just really making a good use of that play and being able to re-engage. MB backs up. They're not far off. The gold deficit is a little bit high right now, but they've shown pretty good potential across the board in some of these fights. Not going to be surprised to see them fight back in. They just have to find the right place and the right time to be able to do it. And right now, it's looking like that last fight might have been it, but really good Riptides by Happen made that not the case. We'll see how it goes here in the next few minutes. Nothing big is on the map for objectives because Pyromancer is down in the pocket of Happen. So we're really just playing the waiting game of like farm, or do they decide to go fight somebody? If I'm looking at what MB Backstep are looking for here, do you think there's a target they should be looking for one more than the other here, Trelly, or do you think right now what they're doing seems to be okay-ish?
I mean, yeah, it's going to be tough because everyone has so much survivability. Even if you do send Ramakami over to duo lane, I don't really think anything comes from this. You just kind of back up or ult out. What? Why is Kaz ult's not up yet? It's 1 more second away. He was holding it for such a long time, but here comes the rotation. This Jingwei should be falling down here for sure. Man, it was close. That diamond was almost back up, and now Speak No Evil stuck around a bit too long.
Wait, this is actually not too bad. There's the Ragnarok. That's good damage put on the SpongeBob, but
So
a
much
great,
healing.
oh my goodness, Tegmir picks up the kill. The rotation looked like it might be able to do something. Speak No Evil is really, really low. Here comes Paul putting down Speak No Evil. There's Twig picking up a kill on the Happen, but at what cost? Twig trying to run away. You're not running away from this. And Paul picks up a kill on the Twig as well. Double kill. Clocked In, takeaway 4. And lose 1 along the way. I think you're going to give up your support in that case. I don't think you're too mad about it. And it looks like a tier 1 tower might be on the menu as well. Kano might be able to stop it. Does have ult in the chamber this time around. So, maybe you don't take the spill, but that tier 1 tower looks like it's going to be gone.
Yeah, I really thought the airstrike was going to come through there, but did not. Not quite in time. One of the issues of Jingwei with no sort of cooldown build, which no one really builds on ADC anyways, is that you just don't have that level of safety that like an Uller would have, with being able to leap out pretty consistently. Now you're losing just about everything on the left side of the map because Paul hasn't left. He's still pushing forward. He has so much safety with the Aladdin, with the wall run. It looks like he's just going to run out of here. Or he's going in because he's a maniac. My goodness, look at the damage. This is so much. That poly burst from Aladdin can really stack up. Ridiculous amount of DPS so far from this mid laner. And Twig just can't hope to match it. That's the other thing. It's like the safe farm that is allotted to an Aladdin is not allotted to a side. And even with that Trident movement, it's just not enough, man. You don't have that same level. No way they pull this though, right? They're going for it. Look at the rotation. 5 strong.
Are they
but
really?
Already Tagvir's nearby. He can call this out to his squad, but who can get here in time? It's going quick.
Oh, this is a burn. It is falling fast. It's going to be Fire Giant in favor of MB Backstep from the looks of it. They go in and they get it, but at what cost? Tagvir actually takes a spill here. Karmic dives in looking for an ultimate. He hits one, but it doesn't matter. Is able to get out Kano with that rotation over. They burn that fire so fast. I just think it was unexpected. Had no idea they're going to go that way. 16 minutes into the game, MB Backstep said we were going to find a way to get some gold to go our way. We're going to be able to fight it too. Now, Speak No Evil's in a bit of trouble, but Kano poking out Karmic. Karmic looking for a play here, trying to find a kill. Isn't going to find it. In fact, it's going to take a fall along the way. Rimakabi picks up the kill there, and this is huge for MB Backstep. They lose a tier 2 tower on the left-hand side, but I think you take this trade every day of the week if it gives you a Fire Giant and a couple kills in the pocket.
Oh, absolutely worth it for MB Backstep. It was a play that they thought they had to make. They had to try and force something to slow down the snowball, and that's what happens. It seems like Clocked In didn't really have the comms there that Paul wasn't going to rotate. I mean, the play seemed pretty obvious, right? Just split push. We already lost tier 2. Oh, well, that stinks. But then they still went anyways without their top damage dealer, really. I mean, Tagvir is doing a good bit, of course, but I think the Aladdin would have been great having that engagement. Ends up losing it, and now you've lost a Fury as well. That gold lead is starting to shrink quickly. The question is, does Clocked In try and fight this, try and defend, and sort of continue to push into this Fire Giant? Or do they just split push and take away as much farm as possible? So far, that's what Aladdin's been doing. Paul's on the right side of the map, getting waves, getting totems, stealing away camps, but I think Clocked In are still at a point where they can convincingly like defend a tier 2, try and fight, look for engagements. I mean, Twig's beads are down for another 50 seconds. I don't think they even want to step up before that comes back up.
Yeah, I don't think this like deviates anything from Clocked In of what their game plan is. Obviously, they didn't expect that Fire Giant to get pulled that quickly and go that way. But you look at the damage that Paul's putting out with Paul and Alcon, and just you don't necessarily want to engage on him because if he turns around and hits an ability and autos you, like that's going to be a pretty large chunk of your health pool. Like, cool, you're going to pull a tier 1. They're going to let that go. They're not worried about it. But tier 2, I'm not so convinced they can just dive under and be able to deal with. And you have to watch, does Kano fall too low and get CC'd before or being able to use that dagger, because that's problematic. Love to see those plays, but sometimes, click that button at the wrong time and either you die or you just popped a dagger and it didn't do really much for you. So I'm curious to see how it happens. It looks like MB Backstep are just going to stay grouped as a group of 4, sending Pele by themselves over in the mid lane. And I think this is the right play. I think, keep Paul interested in something that's going on over there where he's not going to step up necessarily. You go and you take another tier 1 tower. Again, getting that gold deficit back towards a little bit more even. Not quite yet, but getting a lot closer than the 7-8K that it was. And now they push for the tier 2. Here is where things get interesting. Karmic still pushing right lane. Paul still a mid. It's a 2v4 over here in the left-hand side. And they're going to let the duo tower fall here, Trelly. They are not engaging at the time being.
Yeah, I mean, it would be tough to try and defend. You kind of have to accept that we're still behind. We'll grab a tier 2 and trade in that instance. But pushing in mid is going to be the real question. I don't think they're going to, but MB Backstep could group up and convincingly try and go for a 5-man push down mid lane. But I don't think they like that fight, especially under tower with no sort of runic bombs. It's probably for the best that they're taking their uncontested farm whenever possible, right? It's not as if they're really feeling too confident. They were able to sneak a Fire Giant, yes, but it's still scary stuff to try and take these engages. So I think Clocked In kind of fine where things have turned out here. And if anything, might want to try and engage over this Pyromancer. I was paying attention because it looked like Aladdin was going to head to left lane, but now he's kind of hovering around. It would be best to have a true 5v5 here, and it's look like that's what we're in for.
And Happen throwing in some damage. Karmic takes it away. They steal away the Pyro from MB Backstep, and that Fire Giant buff is gone. So this is just strictly even fighting now. 4,000 gold lead for Clocked In is the only advantage they have. They don't have to worry about any buffs. The tier 2s are gone in left and in right. The mid is where they're being looked at. But there we go. There was the ult thrown out here by Aladdin. Paul looking to fight against Speak No Evil, and he is not afraid of this. There's the lamp. They're falling out of it. Kraken's there. The Guan Yu ult's there as well. Karmic picks up a kill on the Twig. That's one major piece of DPS gone for MB. Tegvir diving in. Karmic getting another one as well. It's a cleanup by Clocked In. 2 left. They're going to dive the Phoenix and look for more. Can they find it? Rimakami trying to get away. Paul picks up another one to survive, and it's Rimakami. There goes the bird in the mid lane, and Clocked In show, hey, if we just group up as 5, we can do the same thing y'all did a little bit ago and find what we need. Paul diving in. There's another lamp already. Rimakami in trouble. Paul under half health, but here comes the rest of the squad to back him up. It's going to be a deicide for Clocked In, and they have to, worry a little bit. They have a bit of a wave there. I don't know that they can push this. We saw what happened earlier when they do, but it looks like they have enough healing and tankiness. That's Titan. That's game. 21 minutes. Clocked In. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, Paul saving his wishes towards the end there, ended up just getting another ult back in. I think if he didn't hit that ultimate, maybe there was going to be able to have a stall, but the CC, the damage, the sustain from Emoji was just a little bit too much to deal with there, man. I still love that Fire Giant play. Like they had to go for something. MB were like, we're getting absolutely thrashed everywhere on the map. We need to make a Hail Mary, but they just couldn't get enough for it. That gold lead was way too massive, and unfortunately too little too late. And Clocked In, they kind of just played it perfectly. They said, hey, we're just going to split push. We're going to make sure the gold lead is still massive. Every time you get a tier 2, we get a tier 2. Every time you try and fight, we're still going to find a pick or two. And then they just grouped and ran it down. It was a disgusting team comp that they were able to get online pretty early.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that Aladdin cooldown was just kind of crazy. Something to watch out for there. Something you have to be aware of at all times. You can get thrown into that lamp, and sometimes it's going to go your way, but other times it's going to go about how it did there at the end of the game. Really great production there by Clocked In. And we're going to head over to a quick break. We'll be back with replays and stats when we get back. Welcome back, and we are ready to look at some replays and look at some stats from our last game with Clocked In versus MB Backstep. A game that ended pretty abruptly there. It seemed like it was going to go maybe a little bit longer, and then Paul decided to make a wish to win, and that's what happened there, Trelly. Across the board, Paul made some pretty nice plays, including this lamp that we thought he might be able to take the win, and then Twig decided to put him down instead.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to be able to get on the wall there and stall out for his team. They were on the way. That's the thing about Aladdin. It's a pick that you can kind of command the match yourself for sure, but works a lot better if your team is on point with, defending your lamp when you're in there with a 1v1 or joining in quickly to help out with the squad. And that's kind of what we saw. Tegvir as well, man. This Susano, an absolute threat. Doesn't matter what role he's playing. If he has the Susano in his hands, it's looking clean, it's looking solid, and able to influence the map pretty much everywhere. Didn't get to see too much of Karmic, unfortunately, because the Chalk was sort of left on his own over on right lane. Same with Ramakami. But once the solo laners grouped up, there was a lot of poke damage coming from this full damage Chalk, essentially. So I was very impressed. We didn't even get to really hone in on duo lane, and it was from minute 1 that happened, and SpongeBob were just a nuisance. That start, that is not at all uncommon to just get Sunder and walk at the first purple buff like that, and your lane and your game can essentially be over if you lose that first purple buff, as Kano and Speak No Evil did. So I'm surprised they didn't have an answer for it. I guess they were just too worried about the River's Rebuke. They needed that Phantom Shell, and if that's the case, you got to start lane, and you got to be able to run in and try and find farm elsewhere, which just did not happen.
No, I mean, they got all 3 purple buffs that were on the left side at the beginning of the game. I mean, there was just a massive amount of farm for Clocked In early on in that duo lane, and it really opened up Karmic just being able to stay over in solo and not really have to worry about much. It really freed up a lot for Clocked In because they were doing stuff in mid as well, where they're like, hey, we can let Karmic do his own thing. We don't have to worry about it too much. If we focus on mid and duo, we can make this happen. We can do everything we want to do. It just freed up so much for them. And again, they were able just to, again, Paul wished to win, and that's what happened here at the end of the game. But it's a solid performance by Clocked In, doing exactly what their name and said that they do. They clocked in and did what they needed to do. They went to work. And we saw that Tegvir 8-1-7, Paul 5-1-7. I mean, the rest of the team, really great stat lines looking across the board, and they were just a cohesive group. Looking on the other side here, I think the one thing I'm still trying to figure out is this Jing Wei pick, Trelly. I've talked a little bit about it. Where like it just has to have the facilitation to go with it, and that early lead that went in Clocked In's favor just didn't seem to help that get on the ground and rolling.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those picks that needs to be played through, or else your lane and your early game is going to get rolled. And if you lose duo lane, you don't just lose duo lane, you end up losing Gold Fury pressure, you end up losing your purple buff control. There's a lot of farm on that side of the map that just gets forfeit if you do pick a low pressure lane like this. I mean, Speak No Evil, unfortunately didn't. I think at 15 minutes in the game had 700 total damage. This Guan Yu is a pick that you want to brawl with, get aggressive with. And you can't really get aggressive and brawl with a Jing Wei. So the duo lane in its of itself, yeah, 5,000 damage total. Ended up catching up a bit to the rest of the squad, but in general, it's just not a lot of action being had on that side of the map. And I think it's mostly because of a pick like Jing Wei. Of course, if they were able to bridge that gap and get late game, would have looked very solid, would have looked very good, but just has not happened so far yet. You got way more bans in your roster now, just so you can, kind of plan ahead for things like that. So maybe as this tournament continues, we'll see less prio towards Jing Wei or just more early game pressure in general. Things like the Susano are climbing up in my list for sure. Like Aladdin's always been there, but things to look out for and ban away, Susano is definitely up there for me as well, to, to the likes of the things like the Hun Bats, like the Apollo we mentioned, things like Mordred even. All of those need to be in consideration next time around for P's and P's.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Sasano in two different roles today. I think that's one of the things. Like, it wasn't just like, okay, he popped off in jungle. He also popped off in mid. Like, he's one of those gods we're gonna have to worry about. And we're gonna head over to our bracket to see who's in the semifinals. We know Clocked In made it. They are there. They're going to be facing Showbiz in this next matchup, followed by the game that we're going to watch, Bible Study versus the Bakery. We'll have to see if the Bakery's cooking up some goods today or baking away as they face Bible Study here. And I'm excited for this matchup. I'm curious to see, do we see more Sasano, who's been popping off today? Do we see more Jing Wei, who's been having a little bit of a struggle along the way? But I agree, like some of these gods have kind of risen to be like, hey, these are ones that we need to worry about. We have 6 bans now, 3 for each team. Do we prioritize one of those? You have that whole extra ban. You could go ahead and get rid of something like that Sasano. Maybe that doesn't have as much pressure oriented with it. We've seen a lot of Ares bans. So I'm curious to see where that falls. No Sobek was banned last game. So different things to watch out here for Trelly. I would like to see the Sasano taken away, though, I think.
Yeah, at this point, it's just been too impactful. You have to see what you're giving up, though, and it depends. Again, it's not as if you can't draft into it. A great counter to that Susano is the Ares. That's why it's been taken away. Not just the Susano, but just great damage, great CC control. Throw a Xerxes Hexstone in the mix, and you're getting kind of ran down even without things like Blink. So there's a reason that some of these more supporty style picks are also following into suit in that ban column, as well as these other just junglers that are so annoying to try and deal with, things like the bots. That we've already been seeing tons of bans away. So, but this is really when the things start to shift, though. Semifinals are really when the meta starts to form, and you find the players that you've seen play time and time again for years, and you start to know, hey, this is a pretty good matchup here. We should probably hold on to this pick just in case they go to things like the Aladdin. Now, Wheelix is a great counter to things like that. So, I expect P's and B's to look similar to what we've been seeing today, but also just a little bit different towards more of a target ban style of pick. Yeah, because your matchup at this point as well. I mean, you have to keep in the back of your mind, you've been watching these guys for years, and you know that in a time like this, when there's so much on the line, you want to make sure you get good placement because there's so much money you could be playing for. You got to put yourself in the best position to try and just take them out here.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing for the seeding for next week. Like, you want to know, like, okay, where do we fall on that totem pool? Really and true. Like, are we at the top? We in the middle? We at the bottom? Like, how are we going to have to play this? And we look through and we see, okay, we know Sasano's been a problem. We know Ares can be a problem. We know Bari can be a problem. There's 3 more gods there where we kind of decide, okay, is Kali a really big enough issue that I have to ban it away, or can we deal with that, or do we play it? Do I look towards something like, we've talked about this Apollo a lot. We haven't seen it today. And I really think in
Yeah.
either of the matchups where Jing Wei was picked, I think Apollo was a good option in either of
Hmm.
those teams, where just not even based off of being able to keep up with clear, but the rotation of being able to bring your team in the chariot and gank a lane, or bring a team in the chariot and be like, cool, we're just going to go do this objective because they can't get over there fast enough. I think there's some options there, and I'm really curious as to why some of those picks haven't been looked at. I was surprised last game. Guan Yu support, I think there's viability there, but again, it needs to have a god that can fight with it.
Hmm.
And Speak No Evil wasn't really able to ever go and initiate a fight too often. We saw one over kind of towards the mid lane when we were talking about Rimakami rotating over, but Happen goes, cool, Riptide, 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 and then got his team out. So you couldn't even get the chase down that you necessarily wanted against that team. So it leads to some interesting picks. And, that's what we're going to be heading into now. We have Bible study versus the bakery, and we're going to see what do they prioritize in these bans, and then what do they pick along the way here, Trelly. We'll have to see. I mean, I expect, again, we probably are going to see the Ares. We probably are going to see the Bari, but do we get a little bit of a difference in the sauce here?
I mean, you brought up the Kali, for example. I can't imagine that we see it let through, but sometimes you're put in sticky situations where you have to let that through to try and grab something better, something stronger. We know Moswell loves to go to things like the Merlin, which no one has been really looking at as far as bans, so not something you got to worry about there. Bible study, I wonder if they're holding on to anything spicy here, especially in the mid lane. Globe is someone who can, go to the meta, play the meta well, stick with it. Maybe he'll play one god for the whole tournament if you let him. But then he also has some of those spicy picks that you're not expecting in the back pocket. So I don't know why. I just think mid lane matchups are always so important. We saw it very important last game with Twig and Paul. And I can't imagine we're looking at anything differently here with Moswell and Globe. And it's not as if these junglers don't like to play to their mid laners as well. I mean, Valo is a jungler that likes to rotate around, can certainly get aggressive. But see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, Baron has been pretty popular. It's not as if this is like out of the blue, but these are the kind of things you're not going to see in the first round. These are semifinals bans where you're like, dude,
Yeah.
I hate this guy's Baron. I don't want to deal with it. It's going to let open other interesting picks, of course, but these are things you're only going to see in the semifinals.
Well, not only that, like Baron aspect is pretty good. Like, and it's
Yeah.
annoying to deal with. And then here's the Kali ban. But I agree. We've seen so much pressure put in this mid lane throughout these first two games. I think it's one of those things you have to sit here and be careful about what you pick and what you prioritize. Those junglers have been playing through mid lane. Really and truly, Dulo has been left on its own with a few ganks going that way here and there. Solo's really been left on its own the past two games. It's really all about the mid. We see Thor taken away. You don't want to deal with that semi-global ultimate. We see Bari taken away. She has that flex pick. And honestly, Bari plus Khepri is not something you ever want to see. If you haven't played against it, let me tell you, well, they just survive. Constantly, and it just feels very frustrating to deal with. Humbats again taken away here. At least one more ban here for Bible study. Curious to see, are they going to prioritize a juggler or a mid laner from the looks of it, Charlie? I mean, it has to be one of the two, I'm assuming.
It could be the Ares as well. That's something that we've been holding on to. Has that possibility to sneak through here towards the end. That Baron ban might be throwing a thorn in the side of Bible study. You could sort of let the Ares through, try and grab some. No, you can't, dude. It's Aurora. You can't let Aurora take Ares here, right? It's not as if Sobek is like a acceptable second pick here. It'd be okay, but it looks like they are just gonna say, you know what, Serb, get out of here. We'll see if it's something. Do you care about the Aladdin? Do you care about the Apollo? Do you care about the Ares? Which one do you go for? There's some great picks open, and then Bible study is going to take the lesser of those evils. Just opt to go for Artemis here. Definitely still annoying, scary god to try and dive a lot of CC, but they're going to let Bible study take there too, and they'll just grab the one that they don't take here. I'm curious if it's something that Tempo wants to go to in the Ares, or if they just value something more like the Sobek, Yamoja. There's still a lot. There's a lot of viable support picks open, which is very fun, because usually it's kind of just like the 1-2 that you're worried about, and then the rest just sort of follow. But there's definitely a lot of action that you can try and find here, especially over in that duo lane.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this Artemis setup. It's a beads burn. That's what it comes down to. Is like, and you know what feels good with the beads burn? Ares, because if you're able to get them to pick up, they didn't pick it up. Bible study took Pele Yamoja. I'm expecting that Ares is going to come through here at some point for the bakery. I think maybe they hold on it to the last set of picks, but I like Artemis, and then you set her up with some additional beads burn against these, it's going to feel pretty good. Obviously, Pele has a CC immune ult, but she does like to engage. She likes to get in there, and if she ults and then you pop off Tusky, he's in for a good time. He's going to be hitting a lot of targets. Yemoja, we saw what that could do last game with separating out the fights and then the riptides and the healing and the whole nine. Actually loved being able to finally see it because I feel like it's one that has been kind of just getting through and not really getting picked too often. We are going to see Guan Yu hovered and picked here, and then it's a Loki hover and pick. And I have talked about this time and time again. If it's Valo, I 100% believe in it. That man plays Loki and absolutely pops off here. So I'm excited to see Loki in play and looking to pick off targets that Tusky's going to hit and go, hey, they're stunned. And then he goes in and just takes them out.
Yeah, bro's such a Loki, man. Has a good matchup in a Pele as well. Just kind of immune the knockup, get some anti-heal online. You're going to be able to outtrade pretty heavily late game, especially when you get some strength pots online. So not something you have to worry about there. Question is, can you match that sustain that Yemoja has with Guan Yu? Is that enough? Looks like I'm going to just be going towards the Merlin, taking that one away from Moswell. He's going to have to find something else in the mid lane to try and pilot. Not going to be bad, but the on her is interesting to me. I still feel like there's better ADC options, but if you're trying to go early game and you don't want any sort of damage coming your way, like that's threatening from things like the Artemis or the Guan Yu over in that lane, I mean, Honor is definitely a good look, and especially the early burst potential could be something that Bible Study is after here. I don't hate it, but there is a fall off. You got to make sure you've got your late game damage online when you do go to something like On Her, because you're gonna get out carried. Like that's guaranteed, especially with something like Artemis, unless you throw Agni over into dual lane. But I think Moswell is one of those people that is happy to take the Agni mid, not go aspect, and just build him true intelligence.
Cabrakan? That's what we're getting? Okay,
Yeah,
this is the spiciness that we wanted. Let's go. I'm about it. What's funny is we talked about On Her during the break. Like, we're like, who could be potentially like fill that role that maybe Jingwei isn't doing. On Her does give that early viability, but I love the pickup here by the Bakery. Picking up Cabrakan here just does a ton. It gives you the walls that you had to worry about with Yemoja, but obviously it cones them off. You have that stuff. You have so much CC in your kit that you can set up so many things, and he's gonna be able to run it down. He's gonna be able to run at people. Oh, this is exciting. They have the single target and they have the multi-target CC that they want on the side of the Bakery. Bible Study come through and they pick up the Thanatos, which it doesn't feel as feast and famine as Smite 1 did, perhaps, but still, he has so much potential to set things up where those low health targets, he's going to be wanting to gank on cooldown. He's going to be looking for people to just dive in and execute upon. So this is going to be a really interesting matchup, especially into Valo on this Loki. I think both teams are looking pretty star-studded as far as picks from top to bottom here, Trelly.
Yeah, it does make me sad that we're probably seeing Cabrakan over in solo lane. I think I'd prefer to see it in Aurora's hands, but bro's such a Guan Yu enjoyer. I know it's probably going to be Artemis and Guan. There's just so much setup potential with Cobb and Artemis over in duo. So we'll see how it ends up going. But I'm thinking Aurora probably does take this Guan Yu over to support just to try and match some of that sustain that Tempo is going to be able to bring on the Yemoja. Wondering if they're also going to be worried about that level 1 start where you have a Yemoja with Sunder walking at your purple buff. That's going to be annoying to deal with, especially with an Artemis. So this is not something new. They're going to know this play is coming. I wonder how they're going to try and pilot against it.
Yeah, I'm excited as we head into this game to see where's Cabrakan going. I want to see him in support, just so that we're all clear. Like I want him in support over solo, but we're going to find that out as we head into our game here. The Bakery versus the Bible Study. Semifinals. They're trying to play for not only positioning here to get to the finals of this week in the open circuit for week 3, but they're playing to try to get better, positioning for that closed bracket here, Trelly, which is, for prizing for the big bucks. And we do see that Cabrakan is sadly going to go solo here. Dishonored will be piloting that. I just really wanted to see it with the Artemis because I thought it would be funny. But Artemis is also in mid. So, we weren't going to get what we wanted anyway, Trelly.
Yeah, I mean, Cabrakan is just one of the most dominant solo laners in the game, and of course, Agni with Aspect is still the cream of the crop as far as duo goes. So, not going to be something I'm ever upset about. You have plenty of magical damage, so why not throw Moswell onto like a Bluestone ADC in the mid lane? You're up against Merlin anyway, so something that you have to watch out for. But we do see that Sunder on Tempo. Why is he not positioning to steal purple, though? That's interesting. Just going for their own purple buff. Not what I expected with the Yemoja. I mean, I really thought because Aurora is so fearful of the walls from Yemoja, he's going to get a Phantom Shell. So your purple buff is essentially forfeit there, but ends up not going for it. Not a play that Tempo felt like they needed to make, and they're just going to, play the duo lane normally from here, which is, not a bad thing. You still should get pressure pretty easily. Guan Yu and Agni don't clear the wave very easily at all early on. So they're going to get that pressure regardless, especially on this wave 2 here.
Yeah, and it might be just one of those things where they look at it and go, we could go for it, but the risk is giving up a first blood. Like, if we confirm it, there's a decent amount of damage put against the Agni here. But, I mean, on her, that's what he wants to do. He wants to put out that damage early, so it does feel a little bit weird, especially if they don't step up to this mid-purple. If they let Donut Doug zone them out of that, I'm going to be a bit surprised here. Valo drops part of the oracles there, but ends up going back and grabbing it. And now it's just farm away here. I mean, and this is really good here for Rat Milk. Rat Milk is going through and just trying to stay ahead and farm a Valo, trying to make the rotation early here. I think as soon as you see Thanatos hit level 5, you're going to see him get really active. But I would expect maybe a gank over to mid here in the next minute or two.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It doesn't have blink or anything like that, so Rat Milk kind of has to play it safe. I think Valo dominates this matchup late game. Like, it's really annoying to try and face Loki as a Thanatos because he's just going to stealth onto you, find the 1v1, and kill you before you get up into the sky. But Rat Milk is not one that's shy to this matchup. I mean, he goes to Thanatos no matter what you're playing over in the jungle. So he knows how to pilot it. He knows how to save his 3 for the ult, silence you, hit a good death side, get some Hydra's procs, things like that. It's not as if it's a completely one-sided matchup. There's room for outplay if Rat Milk's on point, which he usually is. But with that being said, you gotta watch out for the early rotations from Aurora and Donut Doug because they've got double shell. I mean, this is something that I see a lot where they use their health bars as a resource, and then they have 2 shells to try and survive the gank here. Even with Rat Milk nearby, it's not going to be easy to try and find this.
No, and here's what we talked about earlier, though. We haven't seen a lot of ganks forced over to this duo side. Rat Milk makes the way over, but here comes Valo, and the back's going to go through for Rat Milk. This opens up a lot for Valo. They are aware of where the duo lane is. They're aware of them stepping up and decides, hey, I'm just going to drop a ward. I'm going to walk away. Nothing to worry about for now. I guess maybe had the idea that Thana was over there. Just wanted to make sure it would be a 3v3 instead. Heads over to the mid lane, looking for God Agent here on this Merlin. There's the beads used, and there's the flicker to get out. But good damage put out here by Valo just to kind of dissuade any type of aggression thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, you just have so much freedom with Loki, even without like a blink or something like that, or your assassinate. There's still not really anything that can be done on the map to try and kill you, assuming that Rat Milk's not within that melee range of you. There is a bit of a rotation over towards the fire camps early on here. This is something that I don't see enough jungler solos doing, is just going for this early on, but a rotation from Dishonored could be right with the doctor order. John Rowing in some trouble. The slow comes through, doesn't even need it. Valo gets the kill, picks up the assassinate, and now your blue buff belongs to us. Terrible time to try and go down there. You might even get red too. Yeah, look at this. Moswell's rotating over. This is terrible for Bible study.
Oh, yeah, the bakery has been baking. They have made sure they were on the rotation there. And you talked about it. Like, I don't think enough people prioritize the fire camp. It gives you the pop rocks that give you free intelligence and free strength for the game. If you have a hybrid character in your game, there is no reason not to try to rotate them over unless they're over and do it. If you're mid or you're solo and you can make it over there to get those, it's going to help you out. Like, it just makes it where you just keep scaling faster and faster. You can basically get the strength or intelligence of a full item by the time Fire Giant spawns. And that's going to feel pretty good. Like, I mean, if you stack 20 of them, you get 20 intelligence, 20 strength. If you're complaining about that, we got things to talk about.
we got bigger issues if that's what you're complaining about. It's just they do take a lot of damage, and I think that may have been the issue there for John. That's why he falls down, because I like to wait until a full item's online at the very least, because they've got a solid bit of HP. But after that, you can kind of just go towards them whenever, especially for someone, as you mentioned, like Cabrakan. Like, you're getting benefits from the strength and the intelligence. I do like to see a rotation over towards it whenever possible. That being said, though, a lot of damage over on the duo side of the map. Aurora Siege is forward. I don't really think they have the damage to find a kill, but the Aegis might just be enough. Kefka barely makes it out of there. Man, the healing. And look at this. Aurora started Rod of Asclepius, man. Already finishes that item. This is, you know what? I don't want to deal with your guys' anti-heal. I want my team nice and sustained and he's going to make sure that happens. Well played, man. This is how you pilot that Guan Yu support.
Yeah, I mean, like, really just got in there. He saw a chance, and he goes, "Oh, he already jumped. Let me ult in real quick. I'm gonna ride the horse down the road real quick. Cool. I'm gonna get the stun. Oh, his Aegis is gone, and they almost blew up the Honor. They almost said bye-bye. Like, it was absolutely a fantastic play there by the Bakery. They get a relic. They make sure they get a TKO there. Opens up some farm, and I don't think people value TKOs enough early on in the game. Like pre 15 minutes, really, if you're forcing someone to full back and they don't have teleport up, that is a huge win in your favor. That is so much extra farm across the board for your XP and gold to get you itemized even faster. I mean, really, you don't have to chase down those kills. You see too many people that think they have to dive for it and chase it down. Really well executed there. They could have dove the tower, but said, no, it's not really worth it. Let them back. We're going to go grab the farm instead. And just a really, really well done play there by the Bakery.
Yeah, and it's not even the farm you get, it's the farm you deny, right? Like yeah, you're going to get the wave and stuff, but you're pushing a wave under. Maybe you take a purple buff away, and that can really start to add up here. Aurora getting close to the cavalry charge once again. One of the benefits of Guan Yu. Pretty low cooldowns whenever possible, but looks like they're trying to go in for this purple buff, but Ratmilk knows that. The Thanatos is here to make sure that his team is okay. Not going to get the purple buff invaded, so I guess it looks like you live to see another day here. I wonder, Donut Doug has this really interesting Agni build where it's like Sunbeam Bow into Transcendence, which is just so wacky to try and see. I wonder if that's the kind of build we're going to see from this Agni. Already has the Sunbeam Bow, so could be the call.
Oh, Tempo is coming around with Ratmilk. They're trying to get a day on the Doug, but there's one of the shells that we talked about earlier. Here comes the cavalry charge. It's going to be enough to force out Ratmilk to go in that ultimate. Really good play there by Donut Doug to just put out the damage, make sure, hey, you're not going to walk any further here or try to do anything that's silly. But now here comes the shenanigans that may ensue from the Bakery. They're looking for a play onto the duo lane there. Tempo has to use the River's Rebuke. The Onher is able to jump out there. Really nice play from the Yemoja and Onher just to be able to walk away and say, okay, we need to disengage. We don't want to overstay. We don't want to overstep any longer. We tried to make a play, and we're not getting that purple that's over there. Like it seemed like they're trying to say, hey, if we get a pick, we get purple. Could we get a pick? Maybe get gold. But a nice play overall. But the Bakery, I mean, they're off to a lead already, and Gold Fury's still standing. It's not like they pushed down objectives. Valo's just been letting the fire camp sit over there. I think he's finally deciding that, hey, maybe he'll go for it. That, you know, maybe he needs some pop rocks on Loki at some point during the day.
Yeah, there's just a lot of farm to be had here, and they're definitely dominating it. I mean, Bible Study cannot step up for just about anything. Even with Ratmilk rotating over, left side of the map was kind of scary. That's one of the benefits of having the shell. I mean, the heal from Aurora, the Phantom Shell coming through. You have a lot more of that health bar that like an Aegis just unfortunately cannot provide for Kievka. So I'm gonna keep my eyes on duo lane, still where you'd assume time to get active. There's a bit of a rotation over towards right. I thought maybe Ratmilk was gonna try to look at Dishonored, but it's so hard without anti-heal to kill a shield of the Phoenix Cabrakan. He spams that sustain so well that your poke doesn't really matter. One of the more dominant solo laners that we have in Smite 2 is this Cabrakan, and Dishonored knows his power spike. He knows he can fight early. He's into Spirit Robe Pele, so it's not as if he's gonna be doing a lot of damage. This is definitely a time if you wanted to fight around duo lane, you're fighting with Dishonored. So Valo could try and look towards this Pele, but he's been spending a lot of time in mid, rightfully so. He's the most fed on the map, just damage wise. Like, he is a threat to just about everyone that he goes up to.
Oh, and Tempo's making the rotation over to mid, so Valo has to step back a little bit. Can't get as aggressive as they would have liked to. Ratmilk not too far out if people getting low threshold, but over on the duo side, Donut Doug, Aurora running it down on Kaveka, and it looks like the Honor might finally take a spill. There's the ult to try and escape. A great impale, and then Donut Doug says no more. Goodbye on her. Ratmilk wasn't able to get there in time to make the rotation.
Yep, tried to live, no help on the way, and now tier 1 tower is going to be in a little bit of trouble. Probably not going to stick around too long. Doesn't really make sense to try and kill the tower this early on anyways. Sure, it gives you some extra gold, but it also means that Kaveka is not going to step up at all. Like, this Honor is going to be stuck underneath tier 2 for the rest of the game, and you can't really farm him if that's the case. But finally, Gold Fury started up here. No Sunders for the Bakery, so maybe Tempo Could try and go in for a steal attempt, but is none the wiser. Doesn't know it's happening or has no interest in trying to fight. Is just going to sit in mid lane and give this one up. So first Gold Fury of the game heads over to Bakery and Donut Doug. Already pushing that lead even further. Every game we've cast so far today, Blaze, it's been early game pressure and early game dominance, especially over in duo lane, and no real answers to it.
No, I mean, like, as soon as you get that dual lane pressure, it just frees up so much for your team. Like, when you're playing jungle, if your dual lane gets a lead, you're like, cool, I'll go over there when they need me and they ask me to. But if I can put pressure in mid and just farm up and try to, like, speed run my way to, like, level 15 through 20, I'm going to do that real quick so I can be able to just transition easier into that mid-late game. And that's kind of what each of these teams have done. I mean, Valo has been around. He does have a kill, but it's freed up so much of play for him to be able to rotate. And like, they fought over at the fire camp early, which opened up the enemy blue and the enemy red. And then Bible Study didn't have a way to respond to it. So the Bakery, again, just like the other teams today, have been able to execute a really well-formed early duo lane that opens up these Gold Furies. And it's a pretty significant lead at this point. It's 5,400 gold. And that's nothing to like be like, hey, oh, they can come back from that. They can, but 5,400 gold at 12 minutes into the game is pretty significant.
Oh yeah, and it starts to add up, and you can sort of see in the builds alone where that gold's at, right? I mean, Ratmilk has an item to his name. Valo has 2.5 items to his name. Like there is very immediate power spikes that are being hit by the Bakery that Bible Study can't really match. Doesn't mean that they can't try and get active here. I still think, okay, now Hydra's is online. Sunbeam Bow for this Thana. Ratmilk, if he's gonna try and kill, it would unfortunately be Dishonored, but I just don't think they're ever getting him in Threshold, especially with the build that John Rowlings went to go for here. This Pele just cannot get a Kabrak and a half health. Like, it's not gonna happen without some assistance.
No.
So maybe.
Well, now that the assistance came over, but it's from Aurora. Aurora's running it down in solo side to try to get John rolling over there. God Agent does pick up Valo, though, in the mid lane. Nice little pickup there for Bible Study. Then they don't lose their solo, so that's a huge play for Bible Study. But I was going to say, like, you were talking about trying to get Dishonored right now. Aurora's playing second jungler by ganking solo lane. Moswell's in mid. There's the boar running it down. But now here comes Ratmilk diving in. Great ages here by Moswell. Moswell in a little bit of trouble, but here comes the cavalry as Dishonored and Aurora step up. Has to beads to get out. But Bible Study were able to pick up a pick, and they got the Loki. I think that's who you want to get if you're going to get anybody right now. But this does open a play for Pyro, Trelly, if they want to go for it. They decide that going for Naga is a bit safer.
Yeah, almost grabbed the tier 1 over there. Is doing a Doug as well. Gets it down to 1 HP. Could have been a good power spike just to get some extra gold in the pocket. I wouldn't have hated the Pyro call, but I like this better, right? Just play it safe. Go for confirmed farm. Now you've got your minions that you can use to tank up the next Gold Fury or the Pyro if you want to go for it. There's just no reason to overstep, and that shows the veteranship here of the Bakery. They know, guys, we're already winning. Our late game already looks much better anyways. There's no reason to go for any risky calls. Let's just keep playing our game and go for confirmed plays, and that's what happened here. Ratmilk and God Agent A both have no beads for the next minute and a half. They're in a lot of trouble. Like, they have to watch their positioning to the T, especially if Moswell or Valo are in the mix, man. They have so much CC, so much damage off said CC. You got to stay pretty far back now if you are those two on Bible Study, which means great time to try and force a Pyroman. It's a great time to try and force a Gold Fury. You have a minute and a half where two people cannot even get within range of you, or they're just dead.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Tempo did here. Tempo goes and gets a ward on it, but you're right. I mean, you step up as Merlin, and Valo decides to ult you and your flicker's down. It probably wraps for you. You're not recovering from that. If you're Ratmilk, like, you might have a chance to get a silence off and then, you know, try to use your stim to get away. But now here comes the counter charge. Guard Agent is dead. Valo has taken him down with help of Aurora. That is not what you want to see here. Moswell picks up Ratmilk, the two without beads, or the two that take a fall. And that's pretty big for the Bakery here. This opens up some plays for them. I'm assuming they'll clear this wave and then head straight over to a Gold Fury. As Valo is already over there and looks to have been starting it. Just waiting for the rotation for Doug and Moswell. We do have, you know, there is vision by Bible Study. They know that it's going on. They have a ward there. They're also just hovering in the back, saying, hey, can we make a play? But the burn is quick. There's the ultimate. Doesn't matter. Donut Doug takes it away with the help of the rest of his team. And nice play across the board. Moswell holding Tempo in mid lane and just saying, hey, you have to stay here. You're not going to get to Gold Fury. I'm not rotating. Neither are you. Beads are back up for Rat Milk. That's good. Beads are back up for God Agent, but that's the second Gold Fury to go the Bakery's way. And one more of those, and I mean, those buffs get pretty significant once they stack up. Here comes Donut Doug with an interesting rotation over to Solo. Is he going to get a pick? The ADC gank? He does. He gets the pick onto John Rowan. We love to see it. ADC players rejoice. You are the one getting the gank now, or getting the gank, not getting ganked by 5 men into your left lane.
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen Tempa use that Sunder one single time. Like, I don't think it's been used. It's just been on cooldown, ready to be used at any time. But you go this Relic because you want to get aggressive and try and step up to objectives or step up to the Gold Fury, step up to Pyro. Haven't seen it really at all. Seems like a Shell might have just been better for that early game. Now in a bit of trouble here, but Pyromancer is going to be the call. And if you're Quebeca, you just wanted to push down tier 1. Now there's a Bracket rotating behind you. Donut Doug finds Rat Milk. And now the tier 2 is being looked at. My goodness, man. This game is turning on its head. You stop him? Oh, he didn't stop him in time. Unfortunately, ends up backing out. But regardless, losing a tier 2 at 16 minutes is absurd. That is a level of control that I strive to have. And now tier 1 tower is going to fall as well. That gold lead is ballooning. 12,000 at 16 minutes. Bible Study, unfortunately, can't step up anywhere.
Oh, and Valo's going in here for John Rowan. That might be another spill for the solo laner of Bible Study, trying to get out, goes back in, gets the knock up, and at what cost? Valo picks up the kill, and now it's the rest of Bible Study trying to step up and do something, but I think they just need to slow it down and try to stay calm because, whew, that got a little scary there. I mean, you lose a tier 2 in right, you tier 1 in mid, and you lost some people along the way. That 12,000 gold lead is going to be felt at these next couple of fights. So you do have to just be safe here. But man, what a play across the board. I mean, Donut Doug goes for that split push, going for this Sunbeam Tearfang Xe build on the Agni, has to be feeling pretty good. And the sustain form is feeling pretty good with that Death Toll. He's been just quietly going around making ganks and split pushing lanes.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the benefits of it. You can go things like Sunbeam that sap your mana, but you get that mana back so easily with the Death Toll. So you are actually able to just spam away and not have too much fear that you're going to be But no Pyro, no Gold Fury, good amount of damage online so far. I'm not saying Fire Giant is an immediate play call here, but it's definitely in the back of the mind's Bible Study that they need to start warding, right? The Bakery has been free to push wherever they want. Left lane belongs to them, right lane belongs to them. Mid lane was okay, but still very clearly belongs to them as well. So it's probably about that time. We need to, maybe we can't defend Fire Giant, but we can definitely go in for a Miracle Steal, and at the very least, we want to make it known. I gotta be honest, I don't see a world where Dishonored even gets below half here, even with On Her showing up. Bro walked up with Xe and Saradin's like, I'm here to fight. And Dishonored said, great, who are we fighting? Because it's not me. And they left.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing you can do. Are they going for Fire, though? Is that their call? Yeah, here we go. Another Bible Study's going for the last minute Fire attempt, but already Aurora says, no, I'm shutting that down immediately.
Nice Riptide there by Tempo just to try to disengage. Here comes Dishonored. There's the River's Rebuke, but the Shell is there to set this up. John Rowan trying to make a little bit of a play here, but now is going to get chased down by Dishonored. Dishonored, this whole entire game goes, you're not going to do enough damage to really make me scared. 0-2 right now for the solo laner of the Bakery. And there's the ultimate, try to lock down God Agent, does so. There's the beads, the Merlin's is trying to live, and Valo says absolutely not, and picks up a kill. There's Malswell picking up John Rowan. That's a 2-for-0 special there for the Bakery. Now they're pushing down a Phoenix. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Donut Doug picks up his opposition in the carrier roll. Rat Milk going up, no, put down and sent to the gray screen by Valo. Here comes this Phoenix falling on down. They're gonna lose the mid lane bird too from the looks of it, as Doug has pushed up a wave and 2 Phoenixes down super quickly here. As of right now, I don't even know if they're gonna pull Fire. I think they're gonna look for the end here. They have the lead. I think they still have Nagas in pocket. They do. They're just waiting on the cooldown, but they're not even gonna use it. It's on. The Bakery secure their way to the finals, taken down Bible Study.
And then that was so easy because every tier 2 was already gone, right? They've cleared everything off the map. It's not as if like last game where you go for the end call and oh my goodness, we've only cleared out one lane. There's still so much HP on the Titan. Now that Titan melted because of how much dominance was displayed across the map there. I mean, I love the Agni pick. Loved how much presence Valo could have on this Loki. Ended up dying once, even had Assassinate up, so that was a bit of a misplay. But besides that, just so much aggression from the Loki, that safety that is afforded to you. I mean, Ratmilk was trying. I didn't really see any gank attempts on the Thana. That was the thing. He just was focusing on farm, and you just cannot focus on farm in matchups like this. You have to try and slow down what they were doing, because even with that fire giant call, it showed they were thinking. They're like, hey, we got to do something. Maybe we can sneak a fire. But Aurora, he invented that play, right? Just going for something sneaky like that. So he was attuned to it. Immediately cavalry charge got the squad out of there. And man, being able to play as mobile as Doug was on something like Agni ADC just goes to show the dominance that was displayed there. Teleporting over to solo, winning the 1v1 in mid. The Sunbeam Bow helps with just breaking down structures. Just dominant play throughout, and definitely a deserved finals appearance here from the squad.
Yeah, I mean, this is an absolute fantastic set of plays. And you mentioned Aurora being sneaky. I always think about, I played against Aurora in a tournament once, and he waited as a full damage Anubis in a bush and just immediately killed me. Or it was around a corner. I walked around the corner and I get hit with a wrap and I was gone. And I was like, I deserved every bit of that and more. I mean, he just is, he's the captain of those sneaky plays, man. He's just so good at it. And you know, to be a baker, you have to be able to follow a recipe to bake to perfection. That's exactly what they did here. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on Smite Prime with our finals matchup. We're going to find out who will be facing the bakery here in just a few. What is up, Smite Primers? We are back. It's Blaze and Trelly breaking down the last game of Bible study and the bakery, which the bakery took away the win there, Trelly. And we've been talking about the focus around mid lane for these junglers, but the past 3 games, what we've seen is the teams that get early duo leads seem to just kind of run it down.
Yep. I mean, duo lead gets you a purple buff, gets you to those side camps, gets you the gold camp, and of course gets you Gold Fury access early on, which has been the name of the game for a lot of these squads. It's not as if a 5-minute, 6-minute, 7-minute Gold Fury is out of the question for really anyone in this stage of the tournament. As long as you know your damage numbers, you're monitoring Sunder usage, things like that, and it can absolutely snowball a game for you if you're in the right position. And that's not exactly what we saw here, but the duo lane pressure for sure was the name of the game. And it did force Ratmilk over to duo a lot. Remember, this Thanatos was in duo lane trying to confirm purple buffs for the squad, trying to, you know, stop the aggression. You can always sort of see him hovering over to try and help Tempo and Kveka, and it just did not help. It wasn't enough presence. This is exactly what I wanted to see from Aurora and Doug. They had an aggressive lane, and they played it as such. The double Phantom Shell, the sustain, the amount of healing, all of which seemed very difficult to try and deal with. All the while, you've got Valo just running wild in the backline with this Loki. Slipped one time, and besides that, no deaths on the sides of the bakery. It's going to be a tough team to try and stop here. That's the other thing. I don't think there's one pick that you could take away and this whole composition falls apart. But if I had to choose, it might actually be Aurora's Guan. Not because it's like the most bannable pick, but it seems like everything did kind of function through Aurora on this Guan. The healing, the sustain, the setup, all of which what was off the back of this Guan Yu. Doug, of course, can do what he did this game on probably 5 other picks. It's not going to be as dominant, of course, but you know, I don't think the Agni was the reason. And same with Valo. His god pool is very deep. I really think if we had to choose, it was probably Aurora's Guan that was the facilitator behind a lot of that duo lane pressure early on.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how he gets a little bit sneaky sometimes, but I mean, you look at what this Guan wants to do. He wants to engage. He wants to slow people down. He wants to be able to ult in and set things up. He wants to be able to heal during these team fights. I mean, overall, everything he's wanting to do just feels good. So it's one of those things where you just sit here and you go, okay, well, we have to deal with the Roar. How are we going to do it? And they didn't really get the anti-heal online early enough, in my opinion, to really try to deal with him, or at least facilitate dealing with him early on. But we know the bakery's made it into the finals, Trelly. So now we got to find out who are they going against? Who won the other semifinals matchup? and it looks like it's going to be clocked in. It's going to be facing off against the Bakery here in the finals for all the cookies, some would say, to find out not only their position for next week in the close bracket, but the win for this week. And just like that, Charlie, we're going to get to find out what they're going to be picking in Bannon. Do you think the Guan Yu makes it through?
I do. I don't think that it's going to be like that high on the priority list as far as bans go, but I do think it facilitates this style of play comp here. So if that's something the Bakery wants to try and go back to, it'll be on the forefront of the conversation. But it's not as if Happen doesn't also have a emoji in the back pocket, and I think Happen does have the ability to like play aggressive and sort of stop what Doug and Aurora were able to do. Like that has to be a conversation of just being able to get as aggressive as possible early on and invade buffs and, play through Sunder, things like that. So I don't imagine Dual Lane goes the same way as we just saw, but it's definitely possible. As far as bans go, though, probably pretty similar to what we've been seeing. I do still think Susano is going to be a topic of conversation here, but something we didn't see last time that we get to see this time, of course, is that Ares ban. Kind of surprising that it went just completely unchecked last game.
Yeah, I was really surprised we didn't see it picked up. I really thought at some point we were going to. Obviously, it's followed with we have the Bari ban, Ullr, Artemis, and Mordred. These bans are flying off the table pretty quick here. And then the Kali. So some things are going to be let through here that we kind of talked about beforehand. Do we see the Emoji again? Do we see some more Guan, as we've seen a couple times? We've seen Sasano today has been pretty powerful, but both these teams had really, really good duo lanes. So I'm curious to see how they lean into that and what they decide their play is. Obviously, we have the Kerberos picked up here for the Bakery. We're finally going to see Humbats today, Trelly.
Yeah, and a good combo with the Aladdin if they do decide to lock it. Seems like something they're thinking about, and they do end up going through. So a lot of beads burn, still good burst potential. Bots is definitely deadly. It's not as if there isn't answers, though. I think Valo could easily go back to the Loki here and have a good enough time. Good 1v1 potential there. As long as you have Assassinate, it's pretty reactable to Fear No Evil. You can just ult out of trouble, and really difficult for Hunbat to try and chase you down. So always going to be an option here. We might see a full run back, and I think that is going to be the case. Just replace Cerberus with Kabrak, and you could run back just about everything besides Moswall's Artemis in the mid lane. And I don't think the Bakery are too upset about that, right? Like, after watching last game, it would work just fine.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, the curb feels pretty good into the Yemoja. They pick up a Kurnanos here with something we have not seen today. But Kurnanos plays pretty well himself. And I actually like the lineup the Bakery go here. They show, okay, we're thinking about Agni. He can flex pick a little bit. We kind of have an idea where Curb and Guan are going. But they're going to follow it up with that Neath, something that was banned away last game. They weren't allowed to play it. And we talked about this, the potential of it. And what I like to see here is I've been talking about Nemesis when I play the games, and I think she might be in a pretty good spot. And I don't think there's been a lot of people playing her. We're going to find out this game if Vala's going to run it down with Nemesis. And I really, really hope he does.
Wow, I'm surprised. I liked everything about that draft until the Nemesis, honestly. Like, the Neath, I think, is a great replacement for the Artemis as far as just physical damage in the mid lane. You're going to have Prod Shred with the Serb, a great replacement for the Kabrakan we've been talking about. Agni, Doug already look fantastic on it. Doesn't really matter. But it just seems to me like you're going to have to be on point here. I will say, bring me back to, Vegas qualifiers, perhaps. Valo really made his way with the Sunbeam Bow Nemesis jungle well before Sunbeam Bow got gutted after that. Like, it was broken for a tournament, and then everyone built it, and then it got gutted, and Nem fell off the face of the earth. No one really played her anymore. So we might be back in a meta that's sort of like that. I wonder, though, if Tegvir pivots and goes Aspect Hunbats just to try and counter out the shield. That's also a possibility. You have that ability now that you see you're up against an M. You can't really break the shield without ulting, but now, if you do go the Aspect, you lose some DPS on overhead smash, but you could get the stun off. Definitely a possibility here. Traditionally, the reason bots is very strong right now is not because of Aspect. It's just because of true Heartseeker procs and full damage build. But hey, it's an option. We'll see how it goes. But I don't know, man. I'm not sold on this Nem pick yet. Hopefully, as you said, Valo sells me on it. But you seem convinced.
Hey, I'm excited for it. I've been wanting to see it played at a high level. I've been seeing it here and there for the past couple weeks, and I think it just feels good. but I just haven't got to see it play at a high level, and I've been waiting. This is the moment. Valo's on the stage for it here in the finals of Smite Prime. But we have to shout out to our eyes in the sky and our producers for the day, Cash Money More and Test Die. And we also have to make sure basically our social media guy and Jithin's the admin all get their shout outs for helping out and making sure this runs smoothly throughout the day today. We're here. It's the bakery. It's clocked in, Trelly, for the finals. Who walks away with the win based off these drafts, do you think?
I mean, that's tough. I liked everything about the bakery's draft up until I saw that Nem. Again, I'm not sold on it just yet, but I do like Clocked In's draft a little more just because of that. Like it truthfully was just that one pickup. Valo, I trust him though. He's been a heck of a jungler in all of Smite 2's lifetime. He knows what he's doing. And hopefully, more specifically than the matchup itself, I want to see Happen and SpongeBob get aggressive here. I do not want to see them rest on their laurels. They've got Sunder. They have Yamoja Cern, probably the strongest you can really get at this point in the game. So I would love to see some action there. Valo trying to go for an invade, just being a nuisance. Wants the 50-50 or at the very least steal the minis away. This is the aggression I was talking about, and Happen's going for it too. Let's go.
Valo, he went deep, and he doesn't have Sunder, so he just went for the play just to try to go for it. On the other side, we do see that purple getting, aggressed upon too. Valo is just gonna go after Tegvir over here in the jungle. It might cost him first blood. It might not. There's the beads by Tegvir. Tegvir has to get out. It's a full almost TKO. He looks like he might try to go back in to see, hey, can he pick up Valo? That damage was pretty good there, Trelly. I like the start here for the bakery.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Hunbats is one of those junglers that takes a while to get online, whereas Nem, I mean, she is here, as you can see, just kind of W keys it down. Paul is level 2, though. Don't want to get hit by any more damage. Can anyone rotate? Surely, Valo just gets rotated on here, but no one's coming. Dual Lane's not even walking over here. I'm shocked. Finally, they start to go in, but he's got speed buff. One auto from SpongeBob.
No way, man.
There it is.
Holy smokes. He was out here just with the Nikes.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. It wasn't necessarily the first blood that's the issue. It's how much farm was wasted from Tegvir. Still sitting at level 1. That's going to be a tough start to come back from, because now Valo gets to get off his camps, right? His backs, his speed, his ward, they're all available. Whereas Tegvir is sitting at 1 HP, finally ticks over to level 2. A lot of his time was just wasted there. Whereas I think Valo is going to come out ahead at the end of the day. But the real issue is that you gave SpongeBob first blood. And now Doug's like, what the heck, bro? Now you fed my lane. Sure, you're doing fine, but duo lane's looking a little bit worse for wear because of that start.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, you distract them so much of everything that's going on because you're just running around their jungle that it opens up things across the board for your team. Maybe not so much in solo, but it opened up some farm opportunity in mid that may have not necessarily been there. It opened up some farm opportunity in duo for sure. I mean, you take that as a win across the board. And then if you look at it, I mean, Tegvir didn't even get an assist. He just he didn't even get it, man. He got nothing for it. He got none of the farm. Valo just comes out as a win there. I mean, they're even in level now, but I think that's huge for early game confidence for the bakery. It has to be good across the board. Obviously, Clocked In have a little bit of a gold lead, probably because of the shenanigans that ensued overall from it. But overall, I like the play and the idea from the bakery, and 500 gold is not that much to talk about.
Yeah, definitely not early on. Yeah, you got to try and play through your strengths, and I think Valo knows there's no way that he's losing a 1v1 versus a Hunbats, especially level 1. But, once ultimates start to get into the conversation, maybe you're looking a little bit differently in that instance. I am curious as to how Mozball tends to build here, just because I know, Transcendence, Book of Thought, that sort of style kind of fell out, but it's making its way back in a bit. Stacking on Neath is still very strong, especially you can get some cooldown reduction online just to help out. But a little bit of trouble here. Valo, beautiful root, but goes into the lamp. That's got to be a dead Nem, especially with the 2v1. Valo in a lot of trouble.
It has to be. There's no way. That took way too long. It's a little little bit worrisome for me. I was like, is he gonna like just make them waste the whole Aladdin ult to kill him? Great ult here by Moswell, though, onto SpongeBob, who's in a bit of trouble. Donut Doug looking for a way in. Is gonna have a way from the side. Doesn't decide to take the dash or anything. Aurora is just gonna keep running it down and will pick up the kill on the SpongeBob. But meanwhile, behind, watch where Tegvir is. Tegvir looking for a way to gank onto that duo lane. Decides that it's not worth it, and a purple buff is just more important here. We'll go ahead and pull it as Aurora and Donut Doug thought about going over there, but I think they heard it drop, so they won't even make the rotation over. They'll just clear the wave and say, cool, we'll get some extra farm here and feel pretty good about it.
I really wonder what ticked in Paul's head to change his build path. Like, this is a Bluestone serrated edge Aladdin, whereas last game it was full intelligence, Sands of Time, wanted to go for the poly, but wants to go strength oriented this time around. What specifically changed that idea in his head? Like, I don't see anything that's telling me that just going the strength perhaps would be that much better. Maybe just wanted to go for serrated. It's a very strong start here. A lot of people are going to it. Ended up going for the Aegis as well. Not worried about too much CC in that regard. But speaking of, it looks like double Transcendence for Valo and Moswell. So interesting starts all around here. Clocked in, definitely starting to push that gold lead even further. And that's kind of what I expected. I mean, off to a not great start is Nem, and already don't really love Nem late game in this sort of meta. Usually that was her bread and butter, but if you're going to build Transcendence, it's probably just going to get worse as times continue, because Bots a top 3 jungler right now. He's not falling off, and Tegvir got off to a great start. Pair that with Paul, you've got plenty of beads burn. Valo is 0-2, has his beads down. You don't want to get anywhere near the two in mid lane, because you're gonna get CC chained to death. And it looks like Valo's not heeding that warning. He's just in mid lane by himself, letting everyone know, hey, I'm here. If you're wondering where the guy with no beads is at, he's right here in mid lane. So come on if you want.
Yeah. He's like, come and get me. The thing is like, I doubted Valo a while back on the Loki, so I have to give him the respect here, because I was a Loki hater for a long time. I was like, someone has to prove to me that they can play it, and it was Valo. So I have to just believe that this Nem is gonna turn it around. Like, somewhere deep in me, I'm just like, at some point in the game, it's gonna turn around. But it's gonna be difficult. I mean, you're into this Aladdin, he can lamp you, he can dive on top of you. I actually do think part of the strength build might just be in playing into Nem and the Neath might just feel a little bit better for damage purposes, especially going into that shield. But I don't know the full reason Paul decided to switch here. I wonder if it's between those two that he just felt better about it, especially again that serrated just for the sustainability that he didn't have with the previous build. I do like that part of it. But right now, not a lot of priority put over into the duo lane. Slight lead here for SpongeBob, even though taking the spill earlier on, but does have a kill on the board. And now here comes a rotation. I mean, we see, hey, Tegvir is going to make the rotation over. Not only that, Paul makes a rotation over. They are valuing this duo lane, just like we talked about before this game. That, hey, duo lane seems to be really where the place to be if you want to control the game. And we haven't seen a lot of ganks necessarily go that way, but there's been a lot of just really good pressure put there by the teams. And now we see that being clocked in here, saying, hey, we got to rotate. We got to make sure we don't let Donut Doug and Aurora do whatever they want to do. If we need to rotate over, take that purple buff, maybe even try to get a gank, that's where we need to be.
And it did seem to me like Clocked In was rotating over just in case a Gold Fairy opportunity arose as well. Like, they were kind of grouped for it.
Yeah.
At least at that point, like, they were like, maybe we can go for something. Okay, not the best idea. We're going to back off here. But still, got to be a topic of conversation they could go in for at any moment. Moswell hasn't really gotten too active with the World Weavers just yet. Still stacking up Transcendence. That makes sense. You get more value from it if you wait. But still, you got Sands of Time. I don't mind throwing a couple ults out here just to see. That was some great damage on the Karmic, though. And in the jungle is Valo, just waiting to see if an opportunity arises to try and go for the gank on the Karmic. But not going to be the case. Karmic, smart player, has been around the block for a while, knows, hey, if there's a low health target, there's a good chance junglers at least nearby to see if I step out. And he had his teleport back up, so was able to just zoom on over no problem. And that just shows some good map presence of being able to walk away there. But Beads is up for SpongeBob. Shouldn't be under too much pressure, but wanted to hold on to it. And that's why happened with the Riptide. Well played there. I think Beads was the target Aurora was after. And holding
Yep.
on to it there is risky, but ends up being well worth it because of a well-placed Riptide by Happen.
Hey, if you can hold on to the beads there, that's a dub. You got the ultimate. You took a good bit of damage, but all in all, it just makes you harder to gank. Happen's been really, really good with these Riptides today. I mean, we saw earlier on in the previous game where, it looked like they were going to get ganked, looked like they're going to be in some trouble, and Happen just hits like 3 Riptides back to back to back to just get them out of a Guan Yu ultimate. So it's really interesting here to see how it's been played. Moswell under the aggression of Paul now as Aurora rotates over, but so does Valo. They're looking maybe for a play here in the mid lane, but Tegvir is there as well. Look at this. Happens rotates over, so it's 3v3 into the lamp. Aurora goes versus Paul. I don't know if that's the target he necessarily wanted.
No,
it doesn't
definitely
look like
not.
it as he exits. Karmic picks up a kill into Valo because it made the rotation over from the solo side. Great rotation here by Clocked In, trying to not just pick up some picks, push a gold lead us now. They're headed to the Gold Fury looking for a play. Karmic made that rotation. Dishonored's behind. I don't know if it's even going to make it to the Gold Fury in time. Here comes Aurora. He can't even make it to the glimpse of it besides it falling down, and a great play here by Clocked In. Pick up a kill, and then they look for more in that Gold Fury. Aurora doesn't land the Cavalry's charge there. Karmic is going to be looking at 4v1 and will finally take a fall, but make sure his whole entire team gets out, and that's what really matters here for Karmic. Like, hey, I'll take the spill. I already have a lead, so I'm not really losing out on anything.
Yeah, the thing is, I think a lot of deaths after Gold Fury would be saved if people just remember we got a free objective leave. Like Karmic clearly wanted to fight there. He's over in solo lane, doesn't get too much action. And the rest of the team's like, bro, we got the free goal. We want to leave. Like, we do not want to be a part of any of that. Overstays his welcome, but it's just discipline, Free objective,
Yeah.
we back up. Just have it in your head at all times, and you're going to be okay. But as you mentioned, doing just fine farm-wise. Karmic's ahead. Is going that full damage chalk build, which we've seen time and time again. So far has not been the case to stray away from. Maybe like one tank item later on in the build, but Transcendence into Brawlers, into possibly Pendulum maybe the call here next up for Karmic. Just wants to do as much as possible with that big strength build, which I'm not too upset about. I feel like we're going to see a lot of that through just about everyone on the side of Clocked In. Already Hydra's into Crusher for bots. Paul probably working on same style, right? Just more damage, as you can see, just full on W key. And once these team farts start rolling in, but hey, it's not as if this game is like, this is the closest game we've had in a while at this point. 3-2, gold definitely climbing for Clocked In, but the Bakery still can fight absolutely, especially if they're grouped up. They are strong when they group around Aurora, get their heals, get their sustain off. The only real issue at the moment is the Nem. She's 0-3. Valo hasn't been able to do too much damage just yet. Has been annoying for sure, but he's going to need some time.
Yeah, I think Valo needs to have it to where he can initiate as an actual gank, where he's not there for the initiation at the beginning of the fight. Like, he comes in from the side and just takes somebody out. And there are perfect targets for him to take down, especially if he can take prots from somebody. Like, I mean, if he hits one of the tanks with ult and then goes in on one of the carries, I think it's going to feel pretty good. But he hasn't had that structure of a 5v5 yet. He's just been able to go and gank in like these 2v2s. So not necessarily feeling as good about it. Obviously, early on, the 1v1 felt fine, but that was at level 1. Now that Tegvir has all abilities in hand, it makes it a little bit harder to even want to try to go in on the Hunbats. So waiting for that to come. But overall, you're right. I mean, the less than a 3,000 gold lead for Clocked In. Nice, even game. Bakery are not anywhere near out of this. And I would like to see an actual grouping here from them to be able to get the damage and see, get a little damage check in. Do we have a chance? But look at what Karmic's doing. Karmic's rotating from behind yet again, leaving Dishonored over in the solo lane by themselves. And he has this strength build doing a lot of damage, but he also will take a lot. Moswell putting about half health to the Karmic, and Karmic now has to run away. There's the ultimate to get the immune, but Valo gets the beats. Nice little play there. Aurora looking for Karmic. Moswell is going to finish it off. Here comes the shells and the heals. Valo is still really healthy, and here comes Dishonored. This is what the Bakery wanted to see here. And can Valo get in there? There's the shield going on to Tegvir. Tegvir is in a bit of trouble. Here comes the healing from Aurora. They wrap back around. They can look towards this tower now. They push everyone out, and they say, what's even better than a tower? A Pyromancer. The Bakery looking to see, can they secure this objective that they lost a Gold Fury earlier? Happen over the wall. Might try to see if they can steal it away. Aurora not wanting to let that happen. Oh, and who got it? Dishonored in to pick up the Pyromancer. That was close. It looked like Happen might have timed it just perfectly. But still, a nice play by Happen, has to force out a little bit of what Aurora wanted to do, make him, be honest about it. There's the beads out of SpongeBob. Held him earlier, wasn't going to hold him there. And now that leaves a gank open opportunity for the bakery. They can go and try to pick up SpongeBob here, but look at this grouping by Clocked In. It's huge on the left-hand side. It's a 4v4 from the looks of it. They're fighting over oracles at the time being. This elongated fight now might go in Clocked In's favor. Aurora says, hey, how about you guys back off? And that's kind of what happens thereafter.
I mean, these fights are being decided by Aurora. Like the amount of sustain he's giving is ridiculous. This Rod of Asclepius start just makes sure that anti-heal is not going to be an issue. Sure, only Karmic had it at the time. Finally Happen was able to grab some anti-heal as well. But you get yourself a Guan heal with a Phantom Shell, like that changes. That's a whole nother health bar essentially, and that's been what's happening here. Like you see Clocked In win the initial engagement, but they can't find the kills. And then once Aurora shows up, they're full HP again. That's going to continue. Even with anti-heal, Rod of Asclepius just ignores it as long as Aurora's able to use it effectively. So you got to win the burst fight. You cannot win the sustain fight. It's not going to happen here. Even with the Yemoja, you cannot match the amount of CC and healing that Aurora has been able to dish out, especially with the shell. I think that's the combo. The heal into Phantom Shell can bait very easily, and it's already happened once, and I feel like it's going to continue to happen. So Clocked In, they need to change their approach. It cannot be like, we'll go for some poke, we'll go for a small engagement, and then we'll win after the fact. They need to either A, isolate someone with Paul, which is always going to be a good option with the lamp, or B, like blow them up off of Tegvir's ultimate, because if this fight does not end in the first like 10 seconds, the bakery is going to be able to chain together so well.
Well, look at this. They're pulling Gold Fury right now. Clocked In said, cool, they're not here. Let's just pull it. They ran over, and that's exactly what they're doing. It's burning pretty quick, but Aurora has spotted it out, trying to make the way in. There's the River's Rebuke. Tegvir secures the Gold Fury for Clocked In. And I mean, that was pretty close. But again, you talked about securing someone down with the lamp and just taking them out of the fight. It can work two ways. I mean, Paul can go in on somebody. Here it is. Valo is the one the lamp goes on to. Nice beads just to avoid it. But Paul isn't going to be like, oh, hey, like we saw him pull Aurora earlier. That's not necessarily bad. It gets rid of the healing in the team fight. You're not going to kill him in the lamp necessarily, but it takes him out of the team fight. It's that Neja idea from Smite 1. You take him up in the air, get rid of him. The Kumba idea from Smite 1. Knock him up in the air, get him out of the team fight so you can do something. And that seems to be the idea here. Now, Aurora going in, looking for a play on to happen. Here comes the ultimate out of Dishonored. They're looking to take down the Yemoja. Valo is the one that picks up the kill here. Nice play. Tegvir going in, looking to see if there's a play in that team fight, but it immediately has to jump out. Monkey tossed in. So no way to deal with that any longer. Donut Doug in the 1v1 with SpongeBob here. SpongeBob going for that purple buff. Donut Doug isn't a huge fan of that. He says, hey, I would like that purple buff, please and thank you. Lands some nice bombs on him. Meanwhile, back in the mid lane, Moswell firing it off, and there goes SpongeBob, and the help Donut Doug got from sniping across the map was Moswell, making sure they take down that Kernanos and just kind of help themselves get rid of this gold deficit that they're at. Again, this is the closest game we've seen today, and the bakery are still baking away, now getting a Naga, trying to get that gold back to even and maybe even a lead for themselves.
Yeah, it's just tough trying to fight into that. SpongeBob did not have a full item. That Executioner was not online just yet. Karmic in the backline can't quite catch Moswell. If the ult landed, would have been able to find it, but Moswell always has that backflip. No problem there. Regardless, you can't try and fight into Donut Doug there. Does catch up. Tegvir was able to catch him lazy back in over on the left side of the map and does at least punish Doug for his sins. But yeah, SpongeBob was just not able to use all of his gold in that engagement. Look at this. The Pyro is trying to be the game. What happened is able to destroy. I think Happen should be able to fall down here, especially if the Ghastly Breath can find a target.
Yeah.
There it is. Pull him back in.
Happen takes the spill. Moswell's the one that gets the kill. Here comes Tegvir, though, looking to try to get Vala, but the healing's good. The shield's better. Paul looking to jump in, says, hey, can we get somebody here? There we go. Vala's gone. Moswell lands the root and everything onto Paul. Paul has to Aegis. That is now gone. A relic that he may need here in a bit. A nice little trade there for Clocked In, making sure they can fight back and change that 1 for 1 there in the mid lane. Donut Doug was still down, so not even to be able to part of that fight. But Clocked In says, hey, you may have taken down Happen, but we're going to trade out your jungler real quick. And I like what Val been able to do since that 0-3 start. Again, once you get to these team fights, Nemesis operates a bit better, I think, because you can kind of loop around and find the targets that you want to fight. Or between Aurora and Dishonored, you can limit at least one person down by throwing them where you want them or locking them down, and it opens up a lot. But look at Donut Doug diving on in, throwing down the bombs. And here comes Tegvir. Tegvir, there's the Fear No Evil, gets it onto 3, but isn't able to follow it up with anything. The Bakery say, cool, we're going to walk away and go clear a wave, and that's pretty much the end of that fight.
Yeah, not going to be bad. Didn't pull any relics with that Fear No Evil, but at the very least, did stop the dive attempt. Doug has been dashing in like a madman. Like this Agni with Aspect does just prevent you from feeling too scared. Fire Giant started up by Clocked In, though no one but Aurora close by. Can anyone show up to help? He's just got to try and stall this one out.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you have to do. You have to try to say, hey, can we get them off of it? Dishonored is the one that takes it away. The Bakery get the Fire Giant steal, and then Tegvir takes a spill. There's the River's Rebuke to try to separate the fight. It's not going to be enough. Aurora is the one with the dagger. Paul picks up a kill, but SpongeBob should take a fall here at some point. There's the ultimate. The lamp is used, and now Valo's trying to find a way out. There's the shield to get some good healing, but it's not enough. Paul trying to run it down and take a trade here. Aurora is in a little bit of trouble. Oh my God, he wished for another lamp. He is going crazy. Up on the walls he goes. Moswell could be in a bit of trouble here, looking for the autos, looking for the abilities. He gets it for a second, but Paul puts him down, and Paul changes the game a bit after they lose that fire. Aurora still running away, dagger in hand, and he has to use it to get a full heal. And now he's going to turn around and start running at Karmic. He doesn't care about level deficits or being the support. He cares about trying to save this tier 1 tower. He goes in on Paul and just says, hey, I don't have enough to hold them back any longer. Then we'll run into the tier 2, half health. Still has some heals in pocket, but nice play there by Paul to turn that around after they lose the Fire Giant.
Yeah, man, that was massive for Dishonored to confirm the Fire Giant, but Clocked In still able to chase down a lot. You have FG on 2. You got it on your duo lane. Aurora and Donut Doug still do have the buff. Gold Fury is still available for the time being, and Pyromancer. But for now, I still think Clocked In aren't too upset about how that went. I mean, you got to look at power spikes and builds. Donut Doug is level 20. He's 3 levels ahead of SpongeBob. That's massive. Like the scariest on the map by far at this point. But everyone else looking more Clocked In-sided, right? I mean, Paul, 4 items. Moswell does have 4 items, a little bit closer to level 20. Valo is a non-factor. He has 3 items to his name. Like Tegvir is just kind of owning in the farm department in that regard. But, you know, there will be time to catch back up. And of course, I've been really impressed with Dishonored, but look at the low health bar here. Karmic just takes so much damage, and Doug picks up another kill. Man, this Agni is becoming an absolute menace. Fury's up. Might as well try and knock it down. Clocked In's nearby to go for the steal, but I think if anything, the Bakery might want to try and fight this afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, the Bakery already got 1 kill for pulling gold. They're looking for more, and Karmic isn't tanky. This is the one thing you have to worry about with going that more damage-oriented build. You want to be able to blow up these carries. But you have to watch out because they're going to be able to turn it around and do some pretty good damage. SpongeBob comes in, gets a great ultimate onto Donut Doug, who is now in trouble. Paul might look for a way in here, decides that that is not the best option. Meanwhile, over on the right side, we do have Tegvir versus Valo, and Valo gets put down by Tegvir. That's not going to be an even matchup for that fight this time around, the 1v1. Donut Doug is stepping up in front of his support. He is not afraid of the dual lane for Clocked In right now. Here's the River's Rebuke to get them off of the tower. Here comes Paul, and Paul has a lamp. He's going to look for it. It doesn't get anybody that he wanted there. Sad times for him, but now it's a disengage by the Bakery. The Bakery, they don't get a choice. Karmic goes in with the rest of the team to take down Aurora. Here comes Tegvir. Tegvir trying to find a leap in, gets the monkey toss, is able to go in, and then gets immediately out. SpongeBob takes that kill. Donut Doug is one of the few left alive and says, hey, is there anything I can do here? There are some low health pools. Clocked In do have to be worried about these Agni bombs. If he hits a bomb onto Happen, or maybe Paul that gets a stun, he could pick up a kill, but now he has to beads and get away from Karmic. Moswell is around the corner trying to find some type of damage, but Clocked In get the Pyromancer, and they say, hey, we got what we wanted, we got some kills, we got the objective now. We back it up, and we go and grab some itemization. But I would keep my eye on Karmic. Karmic's going to be able to initiate and blow somebody up. but he's also, if he gets caught out with any type of CC on that engagement, he's going to be in trouble.
I mean, Karmic's been level 17 for 5 minutes. I need to see more farming from the bakery. Doug's been level 20 also for 5 minutes. No one else on the squad is, this AFK for like a little bit. Hit level 20, get your power spike. This is what needs to be done here because clocked in, they're hitting those power spike. Tegvir rolling over to level 20. Paul's able to get level 20. SpongeBob was the most behind, and even he is almost at that level 20 point, whereas Dishonored and Valo have just been away. SpongeBob still winning the 1v1 despite the Neath ult. Finally some help, and the Odibo actually finishes the job. All right. With a Neath ult and SpongeBob still wins, it's time to retire the Nem. No, like, you can't convince me otherwise. Like,
no, you're right. I'm with you.
You're 1-7 and have a full like Heartseeker, Crusher, Neath ult, and still SpongeBob's able to get the trade. That's absurd. And now, hey, it's a 1v1.
Doug's over there and right though.
Yeah, and now they're trading. It looks like everyone trying to group up, but the Agni is getting pretty low, has to run away here. Is 1v3ing and is actually kind of holding his own for now.
Oh, that blink saved Karmic's life, and no one's going to convince me otherwise. I am almost 100% positive Donut Duck kills him if it's not for that blink. Aurora comes through, gets a heal off, but it's not enough. Donut Doug has been coming over and trying to get these solo lane ganks the past couple games. It's been fun to see. But I'm with you. I mean, we look at it at this point, the NEM's 1-7. It's not going particularly well, but we're trying to find a way to do something. But I mean, dying to the Odibo proc at the end might be the nail in the coffin for the Nemesis. I think that has to be it. There's probably nothing that feels worse other than maybe getting killed by like Baron Brew when you're running away. It's just one of those things, like the little bounce of electricity hits and you're like, wow, that just happened. And now it's a Fire Giant pull here for Clocked In. Moswell looking for an ultimate. They're going to try to see if they can get a steal again. It is low. They're going on to Tegvir. Paul putting out some good damage. Aurora is not particularly healthy here, but Tegvir goes in. Great monkey toss. Better see no evil. Aurora is gone, and it's going to be a Fire Giant for Clocked In. There is nothing the bakery can do about it. Right now, you could almost say that they're baked as they lose Valo on the backside of this. Ancient Fury might be the move here for Clocked In as they have full health bars, but they could also just push up the mid wave and go that tier 2 Phoenix route. Trelly, this is not looking good for the bakery.
No, they gotta try and make a play, but without Valo and Aurora, you don't really want to step up to a tier 2 tower. Maybe the Phoenix, but Doug is not even nearby. He's farming at the moment, so this Phoenix likely going to be an afterthought. Just give this one up, let Doug get some farm in the meantime. Man, Dishonored has only gained 1 level in like 8 minutes. Bro has been sitting at 17 and now 18 for such a long time. There's just no time to just go AFK farm because these objectives keep getting pulled here. Would be ideal if you could get a little bit tankier. This Cerberus, remember, this is what they used their first pick on. This is what they gave up Hunbats for, and it has just not been worth it in the slightest. Ancient Fury is going to be going down here. The good news, it's going to be going to a tier 1 and a tier 2, not onto a Phoenix, so that helps the bakery sort of stall this out a bit longer. They're able to grab a Pyromancer as a consolation prize in the meantime. But I got to see Dishonored and Valo just book it to right lane. Like, I need to see them hit level 20 or I'm going to throw up a little bit. Like, we need farm before the siege begins. You have 2 towers and a Phoenix over and left. You have a very clear time of when you have to fight, and it's not anytime soon. Do not leave right lane until you're both level 20. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, they have to. I mean, at this point, like, you're sitting here and you're going, okay, we're 27 minutes of the game. Jungle, finally, Valo is level 20. Solo-wise, we got to get there. Like, Dishonored needs to just run it down, clear that as fast as possible, get any farm, just to get itemization in the books, try to hit some type of spike here to send these team fights in a different direction than what they've gone the past few. But it's one of those things, it's just a struggle. And we're looking at, I mean, Dishonored's still level 18. They're pushing down the tier 2. I don't think he's going to hit. No, he hit 19. Okay, he got 1 level during that time. But at what cost? I mean, they lose the tier 1, they lose the tier 2. It looks like, oh, hey, we almost lost a Phoenix as well. And this is one of those things that could be catastrophic. I mean, you need your solo laner to be level 20. The 5v5 fight is here. as you know, Karmic's making the way in slowly but surely, but I think you're okay with that if you're clocked in, because he could throw an axe over the wall and to start axing a couple questions in the back line. Here we go. Dishonored engages, gets some beads, and that's it for the troubles, but still not able to hit level 20. This just doesn't feel good if you're the Bakery. You have to find a way to get a pick. The River's Rebuke is there. Do you find anything here? Are they going to overstep their bounds? And as of right now, they're not. Dishonored, half health. Aurora, less than that, about a quarter. And that's the go button for Clocked In. That's a Phoenix, left side, Phoenix, mid side. They could choose to take the fight into the Titan room, and it looks like that might be the way they're going for now, because they have to go to the tier 2 and right if that's what they want to do. They are walking that way. The whole group seems that they say, hey, why don't we just get the tier 2 as well? We don't have to sit here and fight yet. But again, this is the longest game that we've seen today. So we don't have to really think, hey, it's not like we're going to go for an abrupt end. They're trying to slow this down, but another Phoenix gone, and this is going to be rough for the Bakery. They haven't been able to find a pick, and without a pick, they can't turn this around. Over in the mid lane, there is something. Donut Doug versus Karmic is going in the way of Donut Doug, but now Karmic gets over the wall. He blinked over, I think, along with the axe, and he's able to get out by just a smidge, and Donut Doug at least opened up the possibility of a defense here for the Bakery. They do need to be careful of that left lane, though, as, again, Dishonored still isn't level 20, Trelly.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, like, Karmic almost goes down. Moswall left contact here. Now the rest of the squad hiding behind the door. Great damage onto Paul. Paul is gone. He could resurrect. He does resurrect. Paul's coming back for base. He's going to be here shortly. Do they have the defense attempt? But now Techbeer is gone. It looks like the Bakery found some life back in this fight.
Oh, there we go. And Karmic's in trouble, looking for a play. Donut Doug gets the stun. Can he find the kill? Takes it down for him. SpongeBob is the one getting looked at now. That Odibo is doing a lot of work for the Kernanos.
Here's Paul.
There it is. Paul is back. Paul tries to find something. He doesn't find it yet, but he is low health. Valo's on the backside of this. This is the turnaround that the Bakery needed. SpongeBob takes down Donut Doug, and now it's all for 9 unless they can get Paul. Valo finds him, though, and the turnaround's a little bit real on this defense. SpongeBob, Happen are trying to run away. Dishonored leaping in, looking for a play. Aurora is there as well. Valo still hanging around the sidelines. He goes in. He gets a little bit of damage off, but it's not enough. He immediately gets sent to the gray screen. The Bakery turned it around for now, but they have so much more of a defense to go. Dishonored and Aurora looking for a little bit of clear here. Moswall is now up. You could look to go the way of defending the left lane, but might be looking for an ultimate on the SpongeBob. Watch that health bar. The Neath is locked and loaded. They don't need it. Dishonored takes him down. Aurora now looking for Happen and says, you know what? We got everything we needed. Let's go clear the left lane. Dishonored's level 20, baby. And now we can start fighting.
Wow. I mean, that all starts from a great attempted pick onto Karmic, right? Donut Doug finds so much damage. Moswall's ult almost gets the kill, but then they just back up. You see Techbeer kill Moswall. It looks disastrous, but Doug is doing so much damage on this Agni. I'm just baffled at Paul's play, man. I guess he didn't want to res for nothing, but jumping in onto an M with shield up as Aladdin when you don't have any CC to break it is just insta-death. Like, there was no reason to make that play. And he ended up losing his life for it and his wish to res. So now, if the Bakery's ever knocking on the door of the Titan, he can't come back in. Luckily, there is still a left bird down. You have time to try and push that lane out for a bit, but Clocked In are already here at Pyromancer trying to make the play happen. The Bakery have two options. They can W key right now and try and make this happen, or they're going to lose that left side bird or send someone over. Doug gets the Pyromancer. They're happy about that. But someone has to go defend eventually. When they do, Clocked In's going to get aggressive. So the Bakery need to make their play now, and it looks like they're going to go for it here, Blaze. They want to fight.
Oh, I like this. Happen's not full health, looking to try to back and isn't going to be able to. Now, Karmic has to use the ultimate. That's a big use of CC gone. Paul looking for a play, doesn't land the lamp, but he gets pulled in by Dishonored. Meanwhile, Techbeer turns it around and puts the damage in, but Paul in the backline, he's low. There's the Aegis to save his life as Bala was going in. Moswall picks up Paul. Donut Doug putting out the damage. There is the beads to try to save Techbeer's life. He's alive for now. Dishonored disengages. Donut Doug hanging around the corner, looking to see, can he put down anybody at this point? Dishonored went back in to try to look for something, but it's not enough. Donut Doug looking for the trade into SpongeBob. Happen goes in. Karmic blinking around the corner. He misses the hammer, but he doesn't whisk the spin to win, and that's going to be huge for Clocked In as they take down 3-4-1. The defense for the Bakery hasn't looked too bad yet, though. The Valo is now on the run, trying to survive on the Nemesis, and now getting out for now, and will somehow survive here, Trelly. And they save the left side bird.
Wow, Valo being able to juke all those abilities comes in clutch there, but Fire Giant is still on the mark here. Should be one more fire wave over and left. Moswell's going to deal with it. It seems like Clocked In is going to get this one uncontested. We are getting to see a little bit of clutch play here from Valo, finding the backline pretty consistently, getting some Aegises out, but just not enough damage to confirm these kills. And now one more FG going the way of Clocked In. The dagger goes in the pocket of Tegvir. Look at the relics on the side of Clocked In. Every single one down for over a minute. But that's the benefit of being the one with Fire Giant. You get to control when you engage. I think they should back up. I don't think they should step forward until these relics are up. Of course, Paul has unlimited safety here, so it's not the end of the world for him. But the rest of his squad really doesn't need to be here. He dashes in. And now the rest of the squad is here. Can you find the lamp? No, the CC immediately comes through. And now the Bakery, they have to get out. Are they going to leave poor Moswell behind? It looks like he might get caught by the River's Rebuke at the end of this tunnel. And unfortunately for him, the backflip's already down.
That's okay. Beads and Shell, they're alive for now. But look at Tegvir. Watch it. There's the damage put through. He's low. He has to use the dagger. He can't even risk not using it there. Dishonored gets a good play on the right-hand side against Paul. Donut Doug wasn't there the entire time. He's hanging out around the wall looking for a play here. Watch the Agni play. There it is. There's the stun. There's the bomb. Tegvir goes in. Donut Doug is gone. He is null for nothing. And then they find Valo as well. It's a double kill for Tegvir on the Hunbat. This opens up the play for Clocked In. They are fully healthy here. They can go for the Phoenix's left side bird is down. They are looking for the mid bird. Along with that, they're going to probably look for right before engaging, but I don't even think they have to. They can just run it down the mid. And here they go. They're all five grouped up against the three. Aurora, Moswell, Dishonor looking for something. There's a great Aegis by Paul. He somehow lives. Oh my goodness. The Titan is dead in like 2 seconds. Clocked In, take your finals for Smite Prime Week 3.
I mean, 35 minutes in when it's a 5v3, yeah, you can get some kills. You can look for some poke, but the Titan is probably the better target there. Shouts out to SpongeBob. Did not get distracted. He locked it on the Titan and said, that's where I will be putting my damage. You guys can try and kill Moswell. That's all well and good. But man, you know, despite the fact that I think there was some mistakes during P's and B's, it was a well-played game by both sides. There was some action-packed comebacks there. I mean, the Bakery felt like they were on the back foot, but still found ways to find good defense. I really did like everything that Tegvir was able to do. There's a reason that Hunbats is just so strong in the meta currently. Happen was on point. Letting him get Yamoja again is pretty disgusting, just considering how locked in he is with the River's Rebukes, the healing, all of that. And man, Karmic, despite the fact with, you know, he died a bit, just being out of position, being full damage, those axes into the rain with Aspect were just chunking everyone. Like, the amount of poke was just ridiculous. Aurora could not hope to heal up all of that damage that this Chalk was able to do. I mean, you got to give credit to Clocked In. They knew their game and they played it to a T.
I mean, it was an absolutely amazing game to watch. Clocked In played beautifully, but we got to see an actual like defense mounted with the possibility of coming back for the Bakery. Just a really executed play across the board. I do agree there could have been some differences in picks and bans that maybe make this game go a bit differently, or maybe it ends up being just as even as it was. Who's to say? But we have to throw it over to a quick break. Trelly will be back with this week's recap and talks about next week in prizing. So we'll see you all here in a few minutes. Welcome back, Primers. It is time to take a look at the replay from our last match today, along with the stats, see how everybody did between the Bakery and Clocked In. That what a great game. You could say they baked and they clocked in. They did everything they needed to do the job today. There, Trelly. That was a little bit rough to say. I need to slow that down a little.
Yeah, I mean they did, and you know what? Now they clocked out as well. They have punched their time cards, their duties for the day are done because they had a very dominant performance. But hey, it was back and forth. That was the thing. Like, this was not one-sided by any means. There was definitely a point to where Clocked In, it was their game to lose, and they did have a bit of a throw towards the defense. But I'll clock that off to good play by Donut Doug and some good stuns by Aurora. Moswell was pretty on point with just setting up for the squad. But I think at the end of the day, the getting so far behind Dishonored and Valo in particular it just seemed like they were never able to find the damage they needed to. Like Dishonored still got some good Stygian torments, like the ults were definitely there, but it's not as tanky as you might have wanted to be, and especially when you're giving up Hunbats for that pick. That's the one thing I really want to drive home here is that, you know, if you're going to first pick the serve, you're giving up bots, and Tegvir had a heck of a performance, so you got to be doing just a bit more, at least for my liking. Maybe that was all that it was there for, is to get good CC and have the anti-heal and things like that, but I needed a little bit more out of Dishonored, at least early on, to not be like you'll see these clips at like 19 minutes he's level 16. He's not gonna hit level 20 until around, I want to say 26 minutes. Maybe I'm trolling, but it's around that point. So not a lot of farm was found because there was just constant fighting, and it just seemed like he would have been a little bit more beneficial, whereas Karmic was doing the most, man. Like we'll see the damage charts here, and pay attention to the left side of your screen. He's going to be on top for the whole game, really, because this Chalk was doing so much damage.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that was interesting. I mean, I talked about if when you're Chalk and you go full damage, like, yeah, you have the aspect to be able to heal, and you can do your damage with the rain and all that good stuff. Like, you have all these things at your benefit. But when you're a full damage solo, the idea is hopefully, as the team playing against the full damage solo, that you can take them down because they're full damage and they're not building tanky. And we just didn't really see that a lot. I mean, right now at 30 minutes in the game, 3, 4, and 4. But I mean, that's a stat line you got to be happy with as you're a solo, and you're really putting out a lot of damage. You're doing so much in these team fights, not just to do the damage, but you're coming in, you're hitting these silences, you're poking them down, you're setting all these things up for your team by slowing them. It's just a huge benefit to Clocked In. Everything that Karmic was doing here, and we see it in the stats, and we see it with the builds, and it's like you said, the two things I think could have probably helped out a little bit was Dishonored getting online a little bit earlier, Valo getting online a little bit earlier. That start, while it felt good early, it just didn't really manifest in anything for Valo on this Nemesis. Meanwhile, Clocked In, I mean, if you want to know how to play Aladdin and do the wishes at the right time, just go watch Paul gameplay, because that's it.
Yeah, and then but until he rezzed and died to Valo, though, that was the one wish I didn't love, where he rezzed, ran back, and was like, I'm just gonna jump on this guy, and just immediately got turned on. That was the one play where I had a question mark for sure. But at the end of the day, the Aladdin pick, plenty of burst damage. The lamps were on point. I've been shouting out Happen, got to continue to do so. Really loved the positioning there. Had the Xerxes Hexstone so that he didn't really have to get beads against the amount of CC that the bakery was providing. But yeah, it was just good play throughout. Everyone around that 50,000 damage mark on the side of Clocked In. 56 for Karmic, 51 for Paul, 51 for Bob, and then 45-ish for Tegvir. And it's just, you can't match that. You can't match that level of DPS if you're the bakery. It was just not possible. But I really did like what Moswell was doing. Of course, Donut Doug tried to get as active as possible, was kind of frontlining at points on this Agni just to sort of make his team be able to stay alive and get some farm online and try and get to late game. But at the end of the day, Clocked In, man. They clocked in and they did their job, and now they have earned a much needed rest because they were cooking all day.
Yeah. I mean, it was just one of those things, like, as a team, I mean, there's so much damage for Clocked In. I mean, it's impressive that many of them were above 45 or 45K and up. I mean, You're happy if you see like one person around 50K on your team. For them all to be there just talks about how much they are fighting and how much they were doing here, Trelly. It's just really, really impressive. But we're going to throw it over to our bracket so you can see how it all played out throughout the day. There was some upsets along the way. I mean, like Showbiz took down Cherry Slush. I mean, not something maybe people expected. We saw Clocked In and the bakery make it all the way through. Our third place match, Bible Study takes down Showbiz. So lots of points at play here for the top 8 going into next week for that closed bracket, where they'll be playing for, dollar bills, and they're paying for diamonds in game as well. And you'll have to come back next week, same time, same place, for Smite Prime here on Smite Game at 12 p.m. EST, but it's up to $7,000 in cash prizing and up to 125,000 diamond prizing spread out amongst those teams. That's a pretty nice payday along the way there. So make sure to stop by next week for our closed bracket and seeing how those top 8 teams do here, Trilly. It's been a blast today. Get a cast.
Yeah, and above all else, it's keeping that competitive urge for Smite 2 alive, baby. We love seeing the competitive games. We love seeing the action. Different metas starting to form. New characters are added constantly. You're gonna get to see Ganesh next week, likely. So that's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot to stay tuned for. Make sure you're staying updated on socials, very active on the Smite Prime Twitter as well. There's just a lot to like about this summer if you're a Smite 2 fan and if you like competitive action, and we're going to be here providing it. So yeah, you got to feel pretty good if you're a viewer.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things like if this is interesting to you and you want to try your hand at comp, remember, July, there's an open bracket. You can sign up with the team. You can take a chance at it and have a chance to play in the July close bracket next month. So always stay tuned to Smite Prime, just like Trelly said. And we will see you all later. Catch you next week. Bye.
Peace.